Hey there, Heather. Ho there, Chef Cutter Diamond, welcoming you to Game 5 and the Supper Hour stream, as they call it. Well, Supper Hour if you live in the Eastern time zone. If you live in the Western time zones, like, the Central time zone, the Pacific time zone, or the Mountain time zone, it's a little bit early as late afternoon, as mid afternoon in the Pacific, and a kind of late afternoon for the people in the Rockies and Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and of course, for the American viewers and all that. So yeah, the postseason performers: Vladdy Looking Big, Ernie Clement, Andres Jimenez, George Springer, Alejandro Kirk, and Dalton Varsho. Those are the big six when it comes to performances through the first 8 games of the postseason: 4 against the Yankees and 4 against the Mariners. Blue Jays are trying oh so much to win Game 5, take momentum back home, 3 games to 2, and then Sunday, bloody Sunday. You know how it will go. Yeah, Sunday, bloody Sunday. If the Jays win Game 5 today, then they go home with a chance at Game 6. And of course, if the Blue Jays win that game, that's it. The Blue Jays will be the host of the World Series unless Milwaukee makes a 2004 comeback like those pesky Bo Sox did. Because the Brewers are down 3 games to none, and tonight could also see the end of the road in the National League. As the Dodgers are up 3 games to none, that game starts at 8:30 Eastern Time, 5:30 Pacific. And of course, we're at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, the earliest that any of the ALCS games have been held, because we've had 3 of the 4 ALCS games started at 8:05 Eastern Time, and 1 started at 8:30 Eastern Time. That was yesterday. But yeah, Dodgers Brewers. If the Dodgers win, then they sweep. Now and then the Dodgers will have a bit of a rest. They'll have a week's rest because next Friday is Game 1 of the World Series, guaranteed. So next Friday is Game 1, next Saturday Game 2, and then it'll be a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3, 4, 5, and then the Halloween is Game 6, and Saturday night, November 1st, All Saints Day, is Game 7 of the World Series. That's what they've said and all that. So the stats are humongous to do with the 2025 ALCS. We'll get some stats work here. If I can find it, yeah, thank you. Go. Yep, this is big and all that. Blue Jays winning game. Blue Jays lost 3-1 and 10-3, and the fans were just moaning and groaning and all that. However, in Seattle at T-Mobile Park, the Blue Jays have taken care of the Mariners in the 2 games 3 and 4, by a combined score of 21-6. That would be a football score to most people. So yeah, the attendance is going to be big because Game 5 happens and all that. So massive stats. Game 1 saw the Mariners win. That was the first time they won an LCS game since Game 3 against the Yankees in 2001. They went up 2 games to 1, and then the next 3 games went all to the Yankees because that was a 6-game series. Game 2 saw the Leafs. Well, they were supposed to play the Red Wings at 4 o'clock, but because of the ALCS game starting at 5 Eastern Time, they had to change it. So yeah, they went 2 hours ahead and all that. But yeah, fans could stay inside the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto to watch the remainder of Game 2 after the Leafs and their loss to the Wings. So anyway, yeah, the Mariners lost in 5 games in that ALCS in 2001. So anyway, the Blue Jays won 13-4 with 5 home runs. Seattle had 3. That tied the most home runs in one game in postseason by 2 teams with 8. And then the Blue Jays won 8-2. Only 3 home runs were hit in that game. Scherzer became the 4th starting pitcher to win a postseason game at age 41 or older. So Scherzer is older than I am because I'm 40 years old. So Scherzer joined Rocket Roger Clemens. He had several, including Game 4, of the 2005 NLDS between the Braves and the Astros, when he was with the Astros and came out of the bullpen, and Chris Burke hit that home run. Kenny Rogers has won 3 games at 41 or older, I think with the Tigers in 2006. And Dennis Martinez, one time with Cleveland. So Toronto has said that Gausman would pitch Game 5. They have said yes that Yesevich will pitch Game 6. So Yesevich will pitch Game 6. Seattle's not named their starter yet. It will probably depend on if they need a win to survive or a win to do anything. Well, or they can afford to lose, which I don't think you should do that. So Bryce Miller, who won Game 1, will try his best to help the situation out. T-Dot, their starting lineup against Bryce Miller. We have 17 home runs this postseason, which is a franchise record. Well, it's biased because, the Blue Jays would be going through 3 rounds of playoffs, whereas normally they go through 2. Anyway, Georgie's boy Springer, DHing Nathan Hot Dog, Lucas Hot Dogs in left field. Vladdy Jr. playing first. Alejandro catching. Dalton Varsho through the snow in center. Ernie, my darling Clementine at third. Addison Honey Barger at right field. IKF, I know football. At second base, Isaiah Kiner for Buffalo. And the gem, Jimenez at shortstop against Bryce Miller. It was a tight Game 1, and he only gave up 2 hits to the Blue Jays. Well, him and the bullpen. So the Blue Jays win today. They're up 3-2 in the ALCS. The question on everyone's lips will be that they've won their 3rd game in the ALCS. Does that mean they're going to win for sure? It doesn't mean that way, because the Blue Jays, remember, in 85, 4 decades ago, were up 3-1 on the Royals, but lost the last 3. And let's not also forget that was the first year the Major League Baseball decided to have the LCSs be best of 7 instead of best of 5. If that was a best of 7, best of 5, the Blue Jays would have went to the World Series against St. Louis, maybe lose, depending on how bad St. Louis was without Vince Coleman. I mean, the Cardinals were nearly the World Series champs without Vince Coleman. And then, Ozzie Smith's home run would not have just been a postseason game-winning home run. It would have been a pennant-winning home run. Which you see Chris Chambliss or Travis Ishikawa or a few other people I can't remember off the top of my head. But nevertheless, Blue Jay fans in Seattle not really as brutal with ticket sales to Canadians as the Yankee fans were. So, yeah, because, I kind of wanted Seattle to play Toronto because the Western Canadian baseball Blue Jay fans, like from BC, Alberta, and Saskey, would easily get to Seattle for the game and not have to fly across the continent towards Detroit, to southwestern, to southern Ontario, or just across the border in Michigan. So Springer will lead off against Bryce. Here we go, and that is a strike right on the corner. Springer 316, this ALCS. Springer 316. 2 doubles, 2 homers, and 3 ribs. That's in RBIs. Let's see what Springer can do here. 0-1 on the way. Then bite. 0-1. Bryce Miller, number 50 on the mound. Another great number 50 for the Mariners. J.B. Moyer, I must say. Blue Jays, number 4. Who do you think of if it's not George Springer at number 4? You don't really see too much. And the bottom fell out of that curveball, strike 2 as he swings and misses. And I can't really think of any good Blue Jays wearing number 4. Well, Manny Lee, but other than that, I don't know. But yeah, we're going to do everything by the numbers and all that. So 1-2. Wanted him to chase? He ain't chasing that, sunshine. It's 2-2. So 2 balls, 2 strikes, of course, the pillbox hat, as I explained in Game 3, excuse me, I decided to wear this hat because of the whole situation, because it was my dad's hat. So, that's why I'm wearing the pillbox hat, if you will. 2-2. He went for it. It was up there, and he decided to swing and missed the 98-mile-per-hour pitch. Now here comes Lucas. That wasn't really the best pitch to swing at, but yeah. It was right there at eye level, and he thought he could take it with his bat, but a little too high. I think the dome in Seattle is closed. Like they have a retractable roof stadium like we do in Toronto. I think they closed it. Lucas, 333 in the ALCS, 5 for 15, 2 rips on your radar. And he fouls it off to the screen. Strike 1. Mariners trying to win this game 5. They were up 2-0. Blue Jays have won the first 2 games here in Seattle. Trying to finish this nightmare off, if you will. 0-1 pitch. And you didn't go for it. Lucas wearing number 28 on your program. I just trying to think. Who else was a good number 28 for the Blue Jays? I think Al Leiter was. Al Leiter, I think, is the best number 28 because of his efforts, especially in the 93 World Series against the Phillies, being the videographer. He didn't go. All 2. So 2 balls, 1 strike. Mariners wearing their home whites. The Blue Jays wearing their light blues and all that. Just saying that probably it's the best solution in the world. Pitch. He went for it. Popped it up. Foul. 2-2. 38. Sorry. He was wearing 38. I thought we were 28. Sorry. I can't really think of a good Blue Jay wearing 38. I would say Billy Koch. Definitely not. Dwayne Ward. No. He wore 31. Dave Steve wore 37. So I can't say that. I don't know. Anyway, 2-2 pitch. He went for it, and that's a pop-up fair. Suarez. Oh, man, the basket catch. And it almost bit him in the butt. He almost basket catched it, and then it was out of his glove, but he made the ricochet. That definitely would have been an error if he had dropped that ball, but he made it, thankfully for him. He was looking at it, and then he went for the basket catch. Popped out of his glove, but managed to catch it. Still running the ball. The camera is shaking. I don't know why. It's not supposed to shake. Here's Vladdy Jr. at the plate. He decides to take the first pitch to the left center. That will bounce for at least a double. Vladdy does not really have triples power, and Julio Rodriguez cut it off. So big double by Vladdy on the first pitch from Miller. Remember, the Blue Jays only had 2 hits off Miller in the whole, and the Mariners as a whole in game 1. So Girls got the first one and a nice double. Vladdy almost got the cycle. I think it was 2 nights ago. Yeah, it was game 3. He almost got the cycle. He was a triple short of the cycle. I mean, Vladdy's not, yep, the roof is closed. I figured as much because it's like the sunlight's not really getting in as much. Blue Jays are batting 1 for 4 in runners position, like 250. So 1 hit every 4 at bats. Alejandro Kirk will foul that one off. Yeah, they're saying that because of the sunlight and all that, they kind of had to put the dome, like they had to shut the dome and all that with the sunlight creeping in. Seattle probably thinking that this will be a perfect idea to cut down on the Blue Jays, and that was wide on Kirk. Ball 1. Alejandro is 3 for 15 in the ALCS. He has a home run for RBIs. He actually did well in game 1 of the ALDS against the Yankees, hitting 2 home runs in the same game. That's actually pretty good. 1-1 pitch. He went for it. That was in the strike zone, so that would be strike 2. And of course, the Blue Jays would like to pop Seattle in the nose right here, right now, and win a chance to go to play game 6 at home on Sunday and to get a pennant for the Blue Jays. The first World Series appearance in 32 years, if you can believe it. 1-2 on the way. He went for it, 98. Foul in the seats. So that's pitch number 15 for Miller. So yeah, make him throw a lot of pitches in the innings. Flaherty on second base after a double. Alejandro to the plate. Let's see what ends up happening. Oh, he flailed at it. Why? That was way out there. Ahoka. Brutal. He should have waited. Now the Blue Jays, their double is wasted. We go to the bottom of the first. Yeah. A lot of roast and all that. So, yeah. Because I thought about separate streams and like separate clubs and all that. So I'm looking at the Dean Martin Celebrity Roasts from 1974 to 1984. There were 54 of them, 25 of them when the Dean Martin show was near its popularity. In his final season, they decided to do the Man of the Week Celebrity Roast and all that. And then the Dean Martin show was canceled in 74, and then NBC drew up a contract to do several specials. Bob Hope was the first one. And then in fall of 74, the roast, well, the Bob Hope roast was in California, and then it led to being permanent at the MGM Grand Hotel in Las Vegas Sigfield Room and on a Thursday. So anyway, there were some segments that would take prior to or after the roast because of considerations. There were actually no roasts between 1980 and 83. There was actually a fire at the MGM Grand Hotel in Las Vegas in 1980. And then the specials came back for a few ones in 1984 and all that. So yeah, Dean Martin would be the roast master, the roastee, and the roasters would be sitting on a dais as a thing and all that. The man of the hour, woman of the hour, or man of the week. So Martin would make jokes about the celebrity in question, introduce each member of the dais, who would add insults or jokes about the honoree. When Betty Davis had her roast and all of that, Henry Fonda said, "I've been close to Betty Davis for 38 years. Oops. I gotta pause that for a minute. And I have the cigarette burns to prove it." And, the honoree would have their chance to get back at everyone. So the starting lineup for the Mariners, who have not beaten the Blue Jays at home, either in the regular season or the postseason, going donut for 5. J-Rod playing center field, Cal Raleigh, North Carolina, catching Polanco playing DH, Josh Maple Naylor at first, Randy Arozarena in the 5 slot and playing left field, Jeannie Suarez playing third base, J.P. Crawford playing shortstop batting 7th, Dominic Canzone in right field, and Leo Rivas playing second base. And they'll face my man, Kevin Gossman, the ace of the Blue Jays squad. So anyway, it's just, that's what I was talking about, which I didn't, yeah. Well, the Dean Martin roasts, Tim, nice to see you. So anyway, yeah, the one for Tom Brady, which I didn't watch. Yeah, personally, the Dean Martin roasts were the start of the roasting. And then for years, they would do roasts off TV and all that. And then the New York Friars Club in the late 90s, early 2000s did a yearly special of a roast, on Comedy Central. Dennis Leary was one of them. Oh, no, Dennis Leary was on Comedy Central's thing. Well, the New York Friars Club did before. I know Drew Carey was one of them. Cal Raleigh, 3 for 14, 2 home runs against the Blue Jays, who probably are accused of being too polite to him. So, yeah, the whole thing. But, yeah, Cal Raleigh, 60 home runs in the regular season. Not too many people do it. And not too many people do it kind of clean and all that. Ooh. The only ones I consider 60 home run guys because they did it clean is Roger Maris and Aaron Judge. Oh, yeah, and Babe Ruth, 1927, of course. I mean, Mickey Mantle, what would have been? I'm just trying to think. If Mantle wasn't injured in 61, would he have hit 61, or who would he have beaten Maris? I think it would have been too close to call. Raleigh, deep drive right field, not again. Off of Barger's glove. It will be a double for Raleigh. And Cal Raleigh just hit one off the wall. Could have been worse. It could have been out of the park on a line, but thankfully it was just a double. Polanco will come to the plate. Yeah, Cal Raleigh has been practically the only good note of the Mariners and all that. And he is a massive MVP candidate. The question on everyone's lips will be, will Raleigh be the MVP or will it be Aaron Judge? Oh, the ball got out of Barger's glove. Barger did have a glove, but the question is, did they call it a hit or an error? I personally think it's going to be a hit because I don't think Barger really had the angle for the ball. Here's Polanco. Swing and a miss, strike one. Polanco in the ALCS, 5 for 15, a double, a homer, and 5 RBIs. So, yeah, he's had more RBIs. Yeah, because Judge hit 335. Yeah, Judge won the batting crown, right? Yeah, I think Judge won the batting crown. Kind of, that's why you go with him. All that over Cal Raleigh. Although, you must say that, it's rare for a catcher to have an offensive performance like Cal did. I mean, not even Salvador Perez, who was the record holder for home runs by a catcher in a single season, got MVP consideration. I don't know how close he was in voting Sal Perez, but when he did that. But yeah, a catcher winning MVP, that's kind of nowadays not really looked upon as much. I mean, I think Pudge Rodriguez is the last American League. Oh, no, sorry. Joe Mauer, I think, is the last American League catcher to be MVP. And I can't remember the last National League guy. I would have liked to see Johnny Bench, but I'm definitely wrong. I think, no, Piazza never won one as a catcher. Well, never won an MVP. I'm thinking Johnny Bench, but I'm probably wrong. But, yeah, that's hard to believe. 3-1. Oh, that's a strike. Ooh. To be honest, I thought that was a ball because it was lowing ball. Yeah, and the K-Zone on Sportsnet said it was a ball. Yeah, that definitely is a ball. Oh, I hate to say it, but that's a ball. That's outside the zone. So, yeah. Well, Gosman's got to focus here. You got a runner on second with 1 out. Polanco got a pitch in the zone, but he fouls it off. So, yeah. The catchers, like I know Yogi Berra 1-3. All that catchers have better chance at World Series MVP is more viable. Oh, yeah. World Series MVP. So, Salvador Perez was the 2015 World Series MVP. Okay. Swing and a... Oh, we fouled it off. I thought swing and a miss. Yeah, that's right. Yeager, although it was controversial in 1981 because they had co-MVPs. Well, not just co-MVPs, 3 MVPs in 1981. 2 is bad enough, but 3? I don't know why the Dodgers had 3 guys being named MVP of the 1981 World Series. There we go. We got Polanco swinging on that pitch. Strike 3, and that's a strikeout for Gosman. Darryl Porter, that's right. Remember Rick Dempsey? Yeah, it was funny that the catchers were the main heroes in the postseason for 3 straight years. Pat Borders, yep, for the Blue Jays, and Sal Perez, 2015. Okay, I thought it was Moustakas for the life of me, but that's not. Yeah, that's true. Well, here's Big Maple, Josh Naylor, and he takes a strike. 96 on the gun. Naylor, what has he done in this ALCS? 6 for 14, 429 average, 2 homers, 3 RBIs. He had nothing. He did nothing great in the ALDS against the Tigers because he had like low numbers against them. You got to remember, this is not the first platform for Seattle. This is the second because they were in the LDS. Which he had done that last year with the Guardians against the Yankees. Yeah, a lot of people wish Cleveland had taken care of those pesky Yankees in the ALCS. I mean, after all, it's the freaking Yankees. But the joke was on the Yankees. They did lose in 5 in the World Series, so people got their karmic retribution, I say, from the Dodgers. Yeah, 2 balls, 1 strike. Yeah, I wish the Blue Jays had a Canadian on the roster. Well, wait, Jeff Hoffman's Canadian. I forgot about that. Or is he not? No, wait, Jeff Hoffman is Canadian. I think. Naylor, ground ball. Flatty, step on first. Naylor does not have the wheels. All right, 3 outs. Yeah, Jeff Hoffman's not Canadian. Yeah, he's American. He's from New York. Why do I keep thinking Jeff Hoffman's Canadian? Ugh. Well, anyway, so back to the Dean Martin celebrity roast stuff. Talking about, there were only a couple of times that a pair of celebrities were roasted at the same time. Jack Klugman and Tony Randall were at the same time, but that was for the Odd Couple. Dan Rowan and Dick Martin, Rowan and Martin, laughing and all that. Only one person was honored posthumously, George Washington, because for the U.S. bicentennial in 1976, Jan Layden was the guy who did Washington. Audrey Meadows, from The Honeymooners. She was Martha. 4 people actually got roasted twice. Michael Landon, Red Fox, Joe Namath, and Jack Klugman. I don't know why they did Joe Namath twice. In fact, Red Fox, nah. Okay. And Michael Landon's second time was 1984. I guess with Little House on the Prairie ending on NBC. That was the final roast. I thought the Mr. T roast was the final one, but I guess not. Don Rickles hosted the roast of Dean Martin. Yeah, Dean Martin got roasted. So Don Rickles was the guy who's the roast master. Rich Little as an impressionist, and Nipsey Russell, the comedian / poet, 24 times and all that. All right, so the first ever. So here's some big guys who were part of the Dean Martin show's roast. Ronald Reagan, when he was governor of California and all that. And also they roasted him because he was an actor at one time. And he had that movie with the primate, Bedtime with Bonzo, if I'm remembering right. So you got that. Hugh Hefner. Wow, the second ever Dean Martin roast was Hugh Hefner. That's amazing. Because, Hugh Hefner had his own roast on the Comedy Central, the New York's Friar thing. No, Comedy Central did the Hugh Hefner one. No, sorry, New York Friars Club did Hugh Hefner. And Drew Carey was on that one. And McMahon was the third ever one. Here's Johnny. Hi-oh. William Conrad, known for being a tough guy who did commercials daring people to flick a battery off his shoulder. Kirk Douglas was the 5th ever one. The guy lasted to 100 years old, which was pretty good. From Spartacus. He was on a Simpsons episode when he played a transient who wanted to claim Itchy and Scratchy for himself and almost ruined things in the thing. So regardless, let's go back to the baseball action. Varsho is at the dish. He takes an 84-mile-per-hour ball in the zone, strike 1. Varsho, 2 for 16 in the ALCS. He does have 3 RBIs, though. That's better than his batting average. Sometimes you got to look at his RBIs more than your batting average. Varsho goes nowhere. That's ball 1-1-1. So, yeah, the Blue Jays, Seattle. There's no game tomorrow. The Blue Jays and Mariners go to what they call a travel day and all that. So, it'll be a travel day tomorrow back to T-Dot. Varsho swings and misses, 96, strike 2. Game 6 will be Sunday night at 8 o'clock. Game 7, if need be, will be Monday at 8 o'clock, both on Fox, because what does Fox... No, sorry, FS1 has the game in the U.S., not Fox, because Fox rather have Trios of Horror and all that. I mean, did they not realize that games 1 and 2 of the World Series is next Friday and Saturday, and then, Sunday is an off day? You could always throw in Trios of Horror on The Simpsons the final Sunday of October. Kind of pathetic. Because, it'll be a travel day before going back for game 3. Anyway, 2-2. Massive pop-up behind the stands, behind home plate. That's a strike. Well, that's a strike in most circles. 2 balls, 2 strikes. The Blue Jays are a little nervous. Why? I don't blame them. I mean, they know they got to play game 6 in Toronto Sunday night. But the question is, will the Blue Jays go home with a chance to win the ALCS, win the AL pennant? Or will they go home trying to prevent bad things and to force a game 7? Pop up right to second base. That's Rivas' ball. Rivas is the big hero in Seattle in a sense, because if it wasn't for his pinch hit single in the 7th inning last Friday in game 5 against the Tigers, who knows, maybe the Tigers would have been the Blue Jays' opponent. A lot of people actually said the Tigers probably would have been snake bit by the Blue Jays, but you never know. I mean, Detroit does have a weird stadium. But yeah, here's Ernie Clement, one of the big stars for the Blue Jays. And a foul. So Clement, 294 average, 5 for 17, a double and a rib. Yeah, he's hitting the ball, but he's not really, well, he had a much better time against the Yankees. It's like Vladdy. Oh, he decides to bunt. Oh, you idiot. Oh, well, he was trying to bunt for a hit. That was a pop-up. Fortunately, that was a foul ball. Obviously, if you bunt and go strike 3, you are out. Bunt and then it goes foul, you are out. So, yeah, the Blue Jays are trying their best to alleviate the situation and try to win this game and win 3 games in Seattle. Clement, up the gut. Oh, what a snag by Rivas. Right place, right time. If it wasn't for that, that was a single. So that was kind of a good hit. He got a good swing on the ball, but Rivas saw that coming. Ba-boom. '96, he will let it go in the strike zone. The Honey Barger has gone 2 for 14, but he did have a home. Well, both his hits have been big, a double and then a home run in game 3. Other than that, he's done nothing. Wide ball 1. Of course, Barger is playing right field. Usually he plays like second and third base, but the only reason why he's playing right field is because of the injury to Anthony Santander. He's out for the playoffs. And the Blue Jays have to, well, they can't really add someone to the roster. They kind of did with Joey Loperfido. But I don't know if they could allow him to hit. I think Loperfido will be probably in the World Series roster if the Blue Jays make it to the World Series. Of course, we can't put the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart, whatever that saying is. IKF is on deck. Oh, I like it. Barger, nice swing, second deck foul. The ball's Dupree's, as you say. What's Schneider doing? Of course, everything in the Toronto and the Fox, FS1 and Sportsnet. Of course, there's different feeds and all that in Canada and the United States. I mean, Canada's doing their own production stuff and all that. 2-2. Duh. Strike 3. Crap. Well, that sucked. So anyway, yeah, Blue Jays Mariners 1.5 innings. So we go back to talking about the Dean Martin Celebrity Roasts. And McMahon went 3rd. William Conrad, the battery guy. Kirk Douglas went 5th. Betty Davis went after that. Betty Davis Eyes, the Kim Carnes song and all that. Betty Davis was this Hollywood starlet and all that. And no, she wasn't the one that had the infinity for no wire hangers. That was Joan Crawford. Yeah, Betty Davis was a starlet in her days. Senator Barry Goldwater even got roasted. I don't know why you would roast a senator. Well, Senator Reagan, but Goldwater? Really? Don't cross me. And Carol O'Connor was even a roaster. Senator Goldwater. Johnny Carson got roast. Man, look at all those roasters on the Johnny Carson one, because Johnny Carson's was famous and all that for all the people. Jack Benny, Joey Bishop, Foster Brooks, George Burns, Ruth Buzzy, Truman Capote even roasted him. Betty Davis, Don DeLuise, really? He was a roaster? Red Fox, Senator Goldwater, Rich Little, Bob Newhart, Doug Severinsen, John Warwick, Jonathan Winters. Yeah, Johnny Carson was the king of late night TV. Will Chamberlain got a roast, and only one, two athletes roasted him. Happy Hairston, his Lakers teammate, and Bill Shoemaker, the famous jockey. Yeah. So yeah, Will Chamberlain got a roast when he was playing for the Lakers. You know, he was a Sixers icon, a Philly national, Syracuse national / Philadelphia Warriors legend, and then he got traded to Philly and then to the Lakers. Senator Hubert Humphrey got a roast. You know, that's what was the name attached to the Metrodome as in Minnesota's baseball / football stadium and all that. Yeah, helping Minnesota get that Dome Stadium after Metropolitan Stadium. Yeah, and Sportsnet's just showing the replay of Max Scherzer in Game 4 after John Schneider, the manager, tried to pull him after 4 2/3 innings. Scherzer says, "I want this batter," in no uncertain language, but it worked. So World's Worst Gamer, check out his wonderful channel and Cleve Baseball Fan, because Cleve Baseball Fan has put some Stratomatic on his channel, Tabletop, and World's Worst Gamer does his own tabletop stuff as well. So, you know, it's all about tabletop games and loving them. And of course, the RJL Network group, Al Red Sox fan subgroup, and Dave Gardner's thing. But yeah, Arena, great player for Tampa. He's been okay for Seattle as much as batting average just doesn't tell him the story. And he swings and misses strike 2 on that one. So yeah, the Blue Jays trying this thing. This might be a tight game and all that. Tight to the finish. So here's Gossman, 0-2. Arena, Chopper the third. Should be easy throw by Clement. Yes, sir. 1 down. 5-3 on the scorecard, if you will. So now you got Genie Suarez. His batting average is not really the best either, but he's a power stroke. I think he's got the record for most home runs by a third baseman in Mariners history or something like that. That's kind of how I remember him. He used to be a good Reds player. I did pull a 2024 heritage of him. I got to do the 2025 heritage poll and all that. I don't know, like that one. Oh, fuck. I knew it was a power threat. Mariners on top 1-0. Bye-bye baseball. But the Blue Jays were down 2-0 in Game 3, so I'm not too worried. A little bit of this red zone. Crawford will follow that one. Strike 2. On J.P. Crawford, 2 for 13 in the ALCS. 2 RBIs, though. So he'll be okay, I think. Ball 1. So yeah, we'll see what ends up happening and all that. 1-2 pitch. That looked like a strike, but it's not a strike. 2-2. I mean, Toronto's not out of it yet. I mean, we're only in the second inning, so you know. Ball 3. A little low. So yeah, Blue Jays have got to snap out of it, I feel. Because if they don't snap out of it, it could be pain for game 6. Gosman went a little low. He should have went a little bit higher. Well, I've got to pull my 2025 Topps Heritage set. I'll be right back. Fortunately, I just have to make 4 or 5 stats. There we go. So yeah, so I haven't opened this yet. So yeah, I bought this on Wednesday to bring back the 76 Topps design, and of course to bring back some stuff. I wonder, Canzone to right. Oh yes, nice catch by Barger. And the runner went back to first base. Canzone has been one of the most disastrous guys around. So I wonder, yeah, because it's 35 cards. I wonder what the format of the 35 cards will be. I don't know that there's packs. How many packs are in here? Oh, it's not in, it's not in like individual packs. It's in 35 cards. So okay. Did not know that. All right. Yeah, I didn't know that. Kind of why there was like a 50 card thing for $25. But I'm like, they're not really in packs, and I want to unpack them, if you will. Here's Rivas, who's 0-4 in the ALCS. The Mariners trying to do something big and put Polanco at the H instead of Canzone, who was floundering at the plate. His only hit of the LCS was yesterday. Go to the Rivas. Like I said, it's only 1-0. Blue Jays were down 2-0 on Wednesday, so there's nothing to fear. And J-Rod is coming up to the plate if Rivas catches on. Mariner fans are trying to get something going. I mean, it's still early. I mean, if you're a Blue Jay fan, you're thinking, well, we're screwed. Not so fast. This is only the second inning. Rivas. So yeah, Saturday will be interesting. It's still a good paradise to watch sports and all that. Of course, being Canadian, it's the whole factor of, you got hockey going on, obviously. And weirdly enough, Toronto and Seattle's hockey teams meet tomorrow in Toronto, mind you. So yeah, that's funny how the Seattle and Toronto hockey teams meet tomorrow in Toronto, whereas the next night, the baseball teams will meet in Toronto. It was kind of weird because if the Tigers had won that game, if the Tigers had won Game 5, then the hockey team, Toronto would have played Detroit in hockey in Detroit on the Saturday, and then Sunday the baseball teams would meet in Toronto, Tigers, Blue Jays, and then Monday would be crazy because you had the Tigers and the Red Wings visiting in Toronto at the same time. Rivas decides to keep giving Gosman time to throw pitches. Yeah, the sun's really shining through like the areas and all that. Scherzer was cruising basically in Game 4, and they ended up using 4 bullpen pitchers. Hope they have to go to the pen today. I have and using 4 bullpen pitchers. Well, Scherzer was throwing a lot of pitches, and of course nowadays you barely see a guy go 100 pitches. Whereas it was basically a given for until the late 2010s that if you go 80 pitches, you need to go 100 pitches. Scherzer wasn't completely cruising, but he was doing okay. 4 bullpen pitchers, an inning each. Well, there's Rivas, strike 3. Thank goodness. He had to reach 100 though. But yeah, I know. He didn't. No, he didn't reach 100 pitches. I'm just saying that you barely see anyone go 100 pitches and all that. And that's why they pulled Scherzer because of the pitch count being almost at 90. So, yeah, I know he hadn't thrown 100 pitches. All right, so the D. Martin Celebrity Roast and all that. I'm talking about the D. Martin Celebrity Roast World's Worst Gamer because it's a separate club thingy, my Bobby. I talked about how the D. Martin shows last season was part of Celebrity Roast, and then they would do like a standalone show and all that from 1974 to 84, although there were no roasts between 1980 and 83 because of a fire in Las Vegas. And then I said all these things about them. Okay, so the recap: Governor Ronald Reagan, before he was president, Hugh Hefner, Ed McMahon, William Conrad, Kirk Douglas, Betty Davis, Senator Barry Goldwater, Johnny Carson, Will Chamberlain, Hubert Humphrey. Carol O'Connor got a roast. Well, that was when the Dean Martin show thing. Archie from All in the Family, Archie Bunker being racist and bigoted. And, it was big that, Norman Lear would use like the show, like Maud and like All in the Family to talk about racism and all that. And of course, Good Times. Yeah, he did Good Times, right, Norman Lear? And he did the Jeffersons. But anyway, yeah, Carol O'Connor had a lot of people roasting him for his bigoted views. Of course, SR. Monty Hall got a roast December 1973, which is big because, Monty Hall being from Winnipeg, Canada, one of the best ever. Let's Make a Deal and other shows. That was amazing. Klugman and Randall, December 1973, got a roast. As Felix and Oscar from The Odd Couple, they were really odd. Zsa Zsa Gabor got a roast. How big she was in films. She was in Green Acres. Leo DeRocher for baseball, one of the best managers of all time. They had athletes like Chuck Connors, who once was a baseball player before he was a rifleman. Dizzy Dean, who was a legendary pitcher for the Cardinals in the Gas House game in the 1930s, and then became a baseball commentator and was known for his meloprops. Alcs Karras, from Webster, but before then he was a Detroit Lions icon who was banned for a year for gambling. Bobby Riggs, him battled the sexist tennis thing against Billie Jean King. And Maury Wills even did one about DeRocher. And Maury Wills was the stolen base leader in one season before Luke Brock broke that IKF. And he will place one down the line. This will be at least a double. Don't touch the ball. He won't touch the ball. Beautiful. Anyway, I am out as I have to motivate myself to get out the door for no good reason. Is it because of me? Get out the door for no good reason. I wonder if something's fishy here. I mean, I know I shouldn't really care, but you never know what can happen. Here's the gem, Jimenez, coming in. So kind of Falafel had a double. That's kind of why the Blue Jays picked him up off waivers from the Pirates for good reason. And mostly because Bichette, his injury and all that. That's kind of why the Blue Jays went with IKF. I think it probably would have been Bichette instead of kind of Falafel if Bichette was healthy. Jimenez 5 for 14, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, a pair of home runs in Game 3 and Game 4. He swings, he fouls it off. So runner on second, Blue Jays better be careful that they don't botch it like the first inning because Vladdy was on second. So we'll see what happens here. Swing and a miss on a 96-mile-per-hour fastball, strike 2. Yeah, a lot of people are like, well, what's the Mariners' plan for Game 6? But I guess it's because of if the Mariners win, they'll probably have one pitcher, and if they're down 3-2, another pitcher will be your starter. E. Savage is going to start Game 2 for the Blue Jays. That's what they said. 1-2 pitch. He laces it. Oh. Oh, he caught it on the run too, so that's a double play. Ike. He caught it on the run, Naylor did. So that's amazing. And that just killed the Blue Jays' momentum. That's 2 runners on second base that won't get home. Nice swing. Naylor makes the catch, and then he throws the second. Yeah, he was way out there. Should have waited to see if Naylor would have caught that ball before IKF left second base. Springer, chopper foul. Yeah. In a perfect world, IKF probably would have taken a few steps off and then just went back to second base and tagged up. And then, if Naylor was going to make that catch. But what can you do? 0-1. Chopper foul. So it did not reach the base. So you can't really do anything about it. So, yeah. No kidding. It definitely won't be 1-0. At worst, it'll be like 2-1. Nope. They tried to go outside, tried to frame it back in the frame, but no. Nope. Foul. Chopper. He'll get him. Oh, that throw almost bobbled it. He almost did that terrible throw, but Springer's out. I figured as much. So Leo DeRozier got a roast. Truman Capote got a roast. That was a good movie. Who was Truman Capote? He died, unfortunately. Who was the actor? I am so lost. It's a playwright. Portrayals of him in film. Yeah, Capote. Philip Seymour Hoffman. That's right. So Philip Seymour Hoffman did a good job playing him in the movie. Don Rickles got one in February 1974. Don Rickles, known for his insult comedy and all that. Lots of people wanted to get Rickles back and all that. Hockey puck. Ralph Nader, another politician, February 1974. Jack Benny got one because Jack Benny, iconic for his TV show in the late 40s, early 50s that kind of started the comedy thing on TV. Not that. Red Fox, from Sanford and Son got one. Bobby Riggs got one. That had Rosie Castles roasting him, famous female player. Jack Carter. Oh, no. I was going to say Jack Carter, the tennis analyst, but no, that's a different Jack Carter, right? Oh, the comedian. Chuck Connors came in, the rifleman. Leo DeRozier roasted him, that baseball manager. Alcs Karras, and all that. George Washington, portrayed by Jan Layden. Rory Martin, Paul Laughlin, Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron got roasted. And that show was shown March 1934 before going for that home run mark of 715. I want it all and my brother's popcorn too. Cute. From Blue Jay fans. Hank Aaron, let's see, Dizzy Dean did it. Eddie Matthews, Aaron's teammate from Milwaukee / Atlanta for many years. Nipsey Russell. Anyway, Joe Namath, Joe Willie getting roasted in 1974. Joey Bishop. Bear Bryant roasted him. His coach in Alabama, Bear Bryant. Dick Butkus, former Chicago Bears icon. He was in Hang Time. Remember that show on NBC Saturday morning? Weeb Eubank roasted him. The Jets, the former Jets head coach for which he won the Super Bowl. Dandy Don Meredith, ABC for Monday Night Football. He played for the Dallas Cowboys. Jim Plunkett, number 1 overall pick for the Patriots in 1971. Flop in New England, flop in San Francisco. Before Oakland, he found something there. Fulton Sheen. And okay, we're gonna go back to the ball game. J-Rod is hitting for the Mariners down. Blue Jays down 1-0, but it is the third inning, so a lot of people are like, well, we're screwed. No, you're not. I mean, the Jays were down 2-0 early in game 3, and they came back to win, so I'm not worried. Ooh, I almost hit him. Didn't. But almost did. See if that changes the narrative. 1-0 is the score. Ball 2. So, yeah, so the 2005 National League. Oh, I spelled it wrong. 2005, yeah. I just want to know about the championship series. Fly ball to right. Barger should be able to make it. Yep. Dodgers and Brewers. All that. Yeah, I'm looking at the NLCS stats. This is the first, this year's NLCS is the first time since 2018 that an NL East team is not in it. Like, Atlanta, no Philly, no Mets, no Marlins, and no Nationals. First time since 2018. And the first time the NL Central won a playoff series in 6 years. Every playoff series in the past 6 years that the NL Central was in, they lost. Big Dubber is now at the plate. Yep. Dodgers trying to become the first back-to-back World Series champ since 2000. All that. Yeah, the Brewers swept the regular season series against the Dodgers, but sometimes, nothing much happens and all that. So, anyway. So, that's ball 3-0. Well, Gossman better not be polite. But, and then Yamamoto in game 2 threw a complete game, which was the first postseason complete game since Justin Verlander in game 2 of the 2017 ALCS, which is amazing. He took it, and there was a strike. Yeah, it's Ohtani-san is pitching game 4 against Quintana. So I'm probably going to stay up watching game 4 of Brewers and Dodgers because, I want to see how Ohtani is as a pitcher rather than being a hitter. 3-1. He got in the zone, and he fouls it. Payoff. On this day, 30 years ago, Cleveland won the ALCS to get to their first World Series in 1954. Oh, October 17th. Oh, okay. Well, I knew Cleveland beat Seattle to make it to the World Series in 1995, but I didn't know it was October 17th. Here's another October 17th stat. Tim, It was this day. The most famous October 17th baseball moment was 1989. Obviously, I don't have to really tell you anything else. 3-2. And he's gone. Beautiful. Gosman gets the big dumper. Woo. That'll work. Yep, Loma Prieta. Yeah, it wasn't just a sports moment. It was a life event because San Francisco ravaged by earthquakes a lot. I don't know how many big earthquakes other than 1906 and 1989 in San Francisco history. I know 1994 was in Northridge, but that's nowhere near San Francisco if I know my geography. But yeah, San Francisco, 1906 was a terrible earthquake. They said that the 1989 one was worse, well, by not really by damage, but by, well, I think by damage and by funds, because 1989 is a lot different than 1906, but 1906 was more powerful. I think there was a 9, wasn't it, in 1906? That San Francisco one was a 9. I know it was 6.9 Loma Prieta was, and all that, because they kept flashing that stuff. And yeah, Loma Prieta. Sanford thanked their lucky stars. They were ahead of schedule on renovations to Candlestick Park, or else that stadium would have been complete. Well, yeah, they had to renovate it in the 1970s because the Niners moved from Kessar to Candlestick to play football. So they had to kind of, well, I think, was it for football? Was it ever for the 49ers, like open air, or was it once the Niners moved to from Kessar, then the stadium had to be enclosed and all that? Because, I've seen like pictures of Candlestick in 1982 during the catch that Dwight Clark made, that it was pretty much enclosed and all that. But I think San Fran in the 70s, the Niners played in a less enclosed stadium. Swing the rest, strike 3. No, it wasn't for baseball, football, the renovations. No. I'm saying in the 70s, did the Niners play at Candlestick in the renovations? I guess, I think the Niners played in a more open air stadium than what we see in the 80s, like being enclosed and all that. Yeah, that makes sense. Candlestick was vulnerable to earthquakes. And of course, vulnerable to the cold weather and all that. A lot of people wearing jackets to Giants games, whereas it was in California. You're thinking, oh, well, you don't need a jacket to a game. That's not. So anyway, the celebrity death and all that. I mean, celebrity roast. Joe Namath. Bob Hope was the first ever one for Dean Martin's celebrity roast. And then they moved it to Bob Hope. Wasn't there one? Johnny Carson, okay, yeah. Yeah, the Bob Hope one was in California, and then they moved it to Las Vegas. Bob Hope, he lasted to 100 years old, I think, too. He was a pretty good guy with the comedians, and he even did a lot of overseas shows for the troops overseas. And Bob Hope, yes, he was in a Simpsons episode once when Lisa was middle of Springfield and was trying to perform for the troops, but they were able, because there's this Little Miss Springfield. Telly Savalas, November 1974. That was the guy who was Kojak. Who Loves You, Babe? Lucille Ball, I Love Lucy. Here's Lucy, The Lucy Show. There was another Lucy show, said Lucy and all that. Yeah, she was in like 3 or 4 sitcoms. Like, it wasn't just I Love Lucy. She kept it going for a little bit. Yeah, Lucille Ball, the famous redhead and all that. So, yeah, lots of people did that one. Jackie Gleason, February 1975, from The Honeymooners. His co-star, Art Carney, was that one. Yeah, Nathan Lucas, 10 seasons in the minor leagues. And then at age 31, he played 135 games this year. He only had 51 games in the majors before this year. 135 games, mostly because Santander got injured. So, yeah, that's amazing. 10 seasons in the minor leagues, and yet he's now in the playoffs and all that. So, yeah, so he hasn't been that bad. Like, he's been decent, all that. He's not superstar material this postseason like Vladdy, but he hasn't been craptacular either. So yeah, he's going to come up and he will face off against Bryce Miller, who's trying to beat the Blue Jays for the second time. It's 1-0 here in the fourth. Kind of the whole timing thing, an hour every 3 innings. It is true to form, and that's a strike right there. So we'll see what happens here for Lucas. Blue Jays would like to win to go home up 3-2 instead of being down 3-2. Lucas, that is fair. That's just down the line. That should be a double. That's going to be a double. And that's the third time the Blue Jays have a double. And there's the third hit for the Blue Jays. Now they have more hits this game than they did game 1 against Bryce Miller. And Vladdy's coming to the plate. So, yeah, this is going to be big. Yeah, just fair. And it did pass the first base bag being fair. Even though it went foul at the tail end of it. Once it passes a base and lands inside on the left side of the baseline, that is a double. So now what's going on? Oh, no, they're being chicken. Brock. They're going to walk Vladdy. Because I saw someone run to first base, and then there's a 2 in the front. Oh, it's Vladdy. I thought there was a pinched runner for Lucas. I'm like, no. Okay, there we go. First and second for Alejandro, who's the cleanup hitter today. Maybe this is a smart move because Alejandro has not produced much in the ALCS. He has 4 RBIs. He's got a strike. Alejandro Kirk, the pride of Mexico. And all that, trying to give the Blue Jays some lift. No, sir. Ball 1. Yeah, there's the one guy. Is he in a Blue Jays? That little kid, is he in a Blue Jays shirt and all that? I don't know if they allow opposing teams' fans to be in the backdrop, like behind the backstop. 1-1. Oh, why did he go? Nope, he didn't. I thought he went. It looked like he swung. He tried to check too late. So it's 2 balls, 1 strike to Kirk. Nope, ball 3. Trying to get him to swing, but he ain't going to swing. Bryce Miller is trying his best to win for the second time in this ALCS. He won game 1. Gausman pitched game 1. He lost. It wasn't Gausman's fault. The offense just didn't hit it for him. It wasn't his fault. Whoa, that's wide. And the bases are loaded with no outs. So Farshow, if he can lift one to the outfield, that should score. But they're going to have to pitch it. Gabe Spire is warming up. He pitched yesterday. I think he gave up a run yesterday. But yeah, Spire is up in the bullpen. They're contemplating. Yeah, Seattle's bullpen has been decent. I mean, they really had to be decent yet last Friday in that 15-inning marathon that ended at 1:10 Eastern time. I think it was like 1:10 Eastern time. Well, yeah, 10 p.m. Pacific. So, yeah, that game ended a long while. And it was the longest winner-take-all game in history, postseason history by time and by innings. The game started at 8 Eastern time. So that was like 5 hours, whatever, for a 15-inning game. And, yeah, it wasn't like a swinging double like Edgar Martinez's famous hit. It was just a looping single to win the game and send the Mariners to the ALCS to face us. Here's Farshow. Whoop, foul. So it's gut wrench time. Nope. Wide. Ball 1. Need Pat Tabler in this situation. Yeah. Well, I didn't really read much about Pat Tabler's baseball career as a hitter and all that. I know he played for Cleveland and all that, but remember, I was only like 7 years old in 1992. Barstow decides to take a swing at a foul. Yeah, he hit 489 with the bases loaded in his career. Probably not for grand slams, probably just like looping singles and all that. Tabler, I don't think was really known for the long ball, if I remember right. But we'll see what happens here. 1-2 with no outs. Foul. Yeah. You had the bases loaded with no outs. There's no excuse for this team not to score any runs. They've got to score at least one to make things happen and to get the momentum back on their side. That's what it comes down to. Oh, my God. That was so out of the zone. It wasn't even funny. So now Clement will have to try. Why did he go for that? You got to make him pitch to you, not the other way around. So, yeah, split-fingered fastball that looks in the zone. That's kind of the Mike Scott pitch, I think. Well, speaking of Mike Scott, he was the starting pitcher in the OOTP game, the televised game between Houston and Oakland, Game 6. I only did one of the two games and all that. I left Cleveland, Detroit up to the computer. Clement? Ooh. That was in front of the plate. I think that was a double play. Oh, they're saying it's a ball. Oh, 2 outs. Oh, now, yeah, Seattle says it's a double play. Nope. Wow. Oh, my God. What? That's not a foul ball? Oh, he topped it. He topped it. Well, I can safely say that if we don't, well, this could be a momentum shift. And all that. Yeah. So, yeah, Jackie Gleason had a roast after him. Sammy Davis Jr., how good he was, the Candyman. And the guy who kissed Archie Bunker on TV. Michael Landon had one in May 75. I guess that's, after the first season of Little House on the Prairie. Evil Knievel even had a roast in 75. Valerie Harper, Rhoda. She was the side character in Mary Tyler Moore and then got her own show with Rhoda. And the big shock with Rhoda was that, the 7th or 8th episode of Rhoda is when Rhoda gets married to her husband instead of playing it out for the first season about her relationship. And then they end up getting divorced. And then, Rhoda goes through a whole host of things. And of course, Nancy Walker played unfortunately, a very typical Jewish mother who interfered in Rhoda's life. And of course, what is the sister's name? Played by Nancy Cartwright. No, not Nancy Cartwright. Sorry, by Julie Kavner. What was the name of the sister? I can't remember, but yeah. And then they took both Rhoda's mother and father, put them on NBC shows. The actors Harold Gold and Nancy Walker, and unfortunately, though, they both floundered, and then they both went back to the show. Well, I think Harold Gold stopped being on the show, and Nancy Walker came back, and then Rhoda had her divorce and all that, and Nancy came back to interfere in Rhoda's life. Muhammad Ali with his roast. Well, my favorite Dean Martin's celebrity roast is Ali, February 1976. Red Buttons was there making kind of jokes that that definitely don't age well, with Aunt Jemima and as well, pretty much Naylor pops up. That's way foul. Foster Brooks, who played a drunk guy talking about Muhammad Ali, calling him a brown clown. Ruth Buzzy, who was in her laughing thing with the purse hitting Ali and then claiming a knockout. Naylor, that's trouble. That's going to be at least a single. Naylor is not a good runner, and they did catch it on one bounce. Charlie Callis doing some voices and all that. Will Chamberlain, being 7 foot tall and all that. Howard Cosell, Ali's friend in a sense. They would have a rivalry, I think friendly rivalry. Billy Crystal, who imitated Cosell and Ali in his bit. Georgia Engel, who was on the Mary Tyler Moore show, and playing up her shtick as basically being so nice that she leaves a nightlight on for burglars. Rocky Graziano, a champion boxer too, but his set was not really the best. He made some things. He said he wrote a book. He wrote in a book. Sherman Hemsley, as George Jefferson alongside Wheezy. That's Isabel Sanford making things. And George saying stuff like, some dude, I don't like the taste of my own blood. Well, he challenged Ali. Ali stood up, and Sherman said that, he doesn't like the taste of his own blood, especially your own blood. Oh, that's a mistake by IKF. That's a bobble. They'll get the lead runner. That's sometimes better than nothing. But it could have been more. That could have been more. Sherman Hemsley doing that. You don't like the taste, especially your own blood. Yeah. Oh, it wrote up on IKF. Okay. Gabe Kaplan, Walkabout Cotter, he did some stuff. Gene Kelly did a set and talked about how one day his 2 kids went to a Los Angeles press conference, and Ali gave him a private press conference, Tony Orlando, with Dawn and all that. Tony Orlando and Dawn. Like Tony Orlando talking about some stuff like Freddie Prinze, when Freddie Prinze Sr. was alive. Like he made a good set about getting out of the ghetto and all that. Floyd Patterson, great boxer too. Not much of a speaker too. Yeah, until 1977. Nipsey Russell, who did some poetry of his own, and Orson Welles even did that too. And then, strangely, the next one was Dean Martin when he was roasted by pretty much almost everyone that he roasted as roastmaster. Then Dennis Weaver, who was from Gunsmoke, Marshall Dillon's deputy. Dennis Weaver. All 2. Joe Gargiola got a roast. Great baseball player. Actually, not a good baseball player. He's like Bob Uecker, a catcher who really didn't do well statistics-wise, but after baseball, he was much better. Gargiola was the color commentator for NBC Sports until he got the baseball gigs and all that. So, yeah, he was the main play-by-play after NBC decided to get rid of Kurt Gowdy. A lot of people said it was sponsors pressuring NBC to get rid of Gowdy for Gargiola. But anyway, yeah, Hank Aaron was a roaster, legendary home run king. Yogi Berra, a catcher like Gargiola for the Yankees. Athletes. Charlie Finley even came in. I don't know why. Mickey Mantle roasted Gargiola. His great days. Willie Mays, the Say Hey Kid. Stan the Man Musial was there too. Louis Tiant and Maury Wills. So yeah, Red Fox got a roast done November 76. It's the second time in 3 years. Danny Thomas got one, Lebanese and all that. Make room for Daddy, and then the Danny Thomas Show. Famous for the fact that his female co-star in the first 3 years was actually canned. And Danny Thomas kind of had a hand in it. And they had to explain her experience by a death and all that. Yeah, Lebanese and all that. Ted Knight, him from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. And then he did the show in the 1980s called the Ted Knight Show and all that. Yeah, people from the whole Mary Tyler Moore thing came by. Dan Haggerty, where did he come from? I think he was Grizzly Adams. Yeah, that's right. Dan Haggerty. Gabe Kaplan was given his own roast. Welcome back, Cotter. Peter Marshall, Hollywood Squares and all that. And part of the Rat Pack. Center field, Far Show. Mixed to catch. Runner stranded at second. At least the Blue Jays didn't falter. Angie Dickinson getting one in 1977. She was a classic star. Jack Klugman got a roast. Klugman, half of the Odd Couple. Jimmy Stewart, famous actor from Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and It's a Wonderful Life. He got one. George Burns, the comedian that lasted till 100 years old. George and Gracie and all that. Betty White got her own roast in 1978. That was, in her Mary Tyler Moore heyday. And then she did the Betty White Show, all that with John Hillerman, as her co-star. And then that was before Golden Girls in 85. Frank Sinatra got his own roast. That, doing it my way. Suzanne Summers from Three's Company got a roast in 1978. Joe Namath got one in 1979. And then Joan Collins, February 1984, got one. Mr. T, March 84. That's when Gary Coleman did his Little T thing. And Michael Landon got one that after Little House on the Prairie ended. Melissa Gilbert was there too. And there were a lot of athletes there. And then, Gumpy Ranker would release those celebrity roasts on DVD, one of the most sold video sets of all time. Yeah, all 54 celebrity roasts are now being sold via TV infomercial. So yeah, and then of course it was the catalyst for the New York Friars roast that I said, like Drew Carey was in one. Margaret Cho had one done for her, and then that gave birth to the Comedy Central roast that had plenty of roast icons and all that. So yeah, the New York Friars Club had 5 for one per year. Drew Carey 98, roasted by Ryan Stiles. Well, the roastmaster was Ryan Stiles. Then Jerry Stiller, he was on Seinfeld as George's dad, and then the King of Queens as the Doug Hefferman's father. Rob Reiner got one in 2002. Hefner in 2001 with the Playboy Bunnies and all that. And Chevy Chase got one in 2002. And a lot of his friends didn't even show up because there were a lot of things. Yep. And then the roasts of Comedy Central. Oh, I should be looking at my stuff. Yeah, nobody's commented. Okay. Well, anyway, the Comedy Central roast. Dennis Leary got the first Comedy Central roast August 2003. Him and his weird comedy and, lifelong fan of the Boston Bruins and the Boston Red Sox. Jack Foxworthy, 2005 from the Blue Collar Comedy Tour. You might be if your version of a six pack includes nuggets and 5 beers, you might be a redneck. Something like that, because there was this cartoon thing and all that. Yeah, Jeff Foxworthy getting his stuff. Pamela Anderson got one in August 2005, but that was basically the one that saw Courtney Love go off the rails and everyone made fun of her. Barger will dump one to center, base hit. And J-Rod's got a good yard. So, yeah, we kind of had to stop right there for now for the talking about celebrity roasts. Because the Blue Jays need us. Man, I can't believe it. Bases loaded, no outs, and the Jays did nothing. If the Jays lose, that's the main reason why they lose this game. Because, he struck out. And then that weird double play that the ball was topped in front of home plate. Raleigh they're taking him out. They're going to take Miller out? Brutal mistake, I think, because he's got to hit 5 innings for the win. I wonder if that's a big move or not. Hopefully the Jays make him pay for it. I want the Jays to make him pay for it. They're getting into the Seattle bullpen. Yeah, they're fetting Miller, but, maybe it's not a good idea. I don't know. Dan Wilson, what the fuck? Yeah, I know. And, Brash is coming in, so he's trying to be brash with this. Hopefully the Blue Jays make him pay for it. Yeah, Pamela Anderson, that's when Courtney Love appeared to be inebriated, and then she got in trouble and all that. And then, they talked about B. Arthur stuff, Andy Dick being a gross out, at least in Lampanelli, her whole thing and all that. William Shatner got one in August 2006 and got even George Takei to come in as a roaster and tell Shatner, fuck you and the horse you rode in on and all that. They actually had a Leonard Nimoy sequence, which was omitted from the DVD release because of things. But yeah, there were a lot of good roasters that one. Billy White even roasted Shatner and actually got a second wind in her career because of that. Flavor Flav got one in August 2007. A lot of people from the hip-hop world roasted him, even Bridget Nielsen. That's so. I think she's dead, right? Nope, she's alive. Oh, Mark Gastineau, I think, is dead. Anyway, Bob Saget got his in 2008. And he said that he did not like the jokes aimed at Candace Cameron, a.k.a. DJ Tanner, and the Olsen twins. All that. It was actually pretty good, all that, the Bob Saget roast. Because, the weird thing is Saget actually was a foul-mouthed comic with his comedian route. His routines were terrible. I mean, they were very racy and all that. And Saget became the big boy for, Full House. And, he was Clean Cut America's Dad and all that. And then, of course, that was when Norm Macdonald did his comedy set. And he actually went through a 1950s retirement party book for his material instead of being shocking, as the producer said. All that. Artie Lange actually was going to show, but he had to enter rehab. So, yeah, baseball analytics. Let's see if IKF can do something here. He's going to bunt. Ooh, but he fouls it off 0-2. You better be careful, obviously, because that is going to be a strike if he bunts it foul. A strikeout. So, yeah, you take the bunt out now. Yeah, Blue Jays, if they lose this game, the whole situations. They had 2 runners on second base not get through because the 2 doubles, and then the bases loaded. Isaiah, that's not going anywhere. Oh. I wonder if J-Rod was going to drop it on purpose. I think there's a golden rule that if you drop it on purpose, then, the umpires can do discretion. But he's out, so it's 1-0 Mariners in the 5th. Man, this will be hurtful. So the Jays score any runs. Bryce Miller. Actually, no, yeah. Bryce Miller can't win because he hasn't hit 5 innings and all that. Here's Jimenez. He fouls it off. Man, this would be just shocking if the Jays just can't get it going. Only one play. That's the first. Oh, he almost made a mistake, but he didn't. Damn. Brash almost made a terrible throw. So it's 1-0 runner on second. Let's see if George Springer can do something. Again, we have a runner on second base. That's the 4th time in 5 innings that the Blue Jays have a runner on second. Hopefully this time the Jays can convert. I mean, you have bases loaded, no outs, and you couldn't convert. That's a no-no in anyone's books. The pitching coach is back out there for Brash. Wonder why. I mean, Brash is only throwing 5 pitches. You have a runner on second. You should be able to know what you're doing as a pitcher and all that. Or a manager. So, yeah. Yeah, tomorrow's going to be big because the Leafs played the Kraken. The New York Rangers played the Montreal Canadiens in Montreal. The Rangers have done dismal. No goals in 3 games on home ice. And they they lost yesterday in Toronto 2-1 in overtime. I mean, the Rangers almost pulled it off, but yeah, the Leafs won. Matthews Austin 334 said it just whipped your ass because Austin Matthews scored the overtime winning goal, and the Rangers fan group is pissed. Why did he go on that one? Nope, he didn't. Ball 2. I thought that was his swing. 0 for 4 runners in scoring position. Well, yes, of course. Jays just can't get anything going. Hit me a Springer dinger. That fan is optimistic. Springer, deep to left center. Back. Off the wall. We are tied. Yes. Well, there you go. Take it from George Springer. That's why we paid him the big bucks to come via free agency in 2021. He almost gave that young girl the whole thing. They showed in Canada, they'll sign him a Springer dinger, and he almost did that. He hits at the left center, and that was a good pitch. And finally, the Jays get something done with runner on second base. Miami trails for Louisville 14-6. How early is that game? Like, I got to keep my eyes on the NHL, kind of. Lucas, did he go? No, ball 1. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that game's early because I don't think you start any college football game before 7 Eastern time. Yeah, number 2, Miami. They're making a comeback. Years ago, they felt they were dead in the dust. 2 minutes left in the first quarter. Okay. 14-7. It's okay. Yeah, it's still the first quarter. I mean, I've seen teams come back from 21 down and win the game. So, they're only down by 7. That's not bad. Lucas swung and missed strike 1. 1-1 pitch. Oh, he disengaged. Is that a balk? Oh, I guess not. Yeah, Brash kind of disengaged. Or was it Lucas who disengaged? If it's the pitcher who disengages, he can't do it again for this batter unless he forfeits a ball. And if the hitter does it twice, he strikes. And that's strike 2. Lucas thought about it. He's not happy with the pitch, but I think it was definitely in there. Like 2 of my brothers' alma mater, Bowling Green versus Toledo last Saturday. Yeah, Bowling Green and Toledo. Yeah, they were okay. I don't even think Bowling Green has had much of a football history. Toledo kind of did in the early days and all that, but I don't really know any key players from Bowling Green in history for football. Trying to get Lucas to swing on that one, but he's not full. 2-2. And you got to be careful, though, because, you have a runner on second. If you throw that away, the runner moves to third, 90 feet away. Okay, 2-2, 2 outs. Top of the 5th. Didn't go. Payoff. Much better hockey history. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I remember. Bowling Green won how many national championships? 1. Well, I know 1984 was Gino Cavalletti, or was it Paul? No, it was Gino Cavalletti's goal that helped Bowling Green win the 1984 championship because it was on a hockey card from 1991. Ball 4 to Lucas. First and second. And that brings Vladdy to the plate. Are they going to intentionally walk Vladdy to get to Alejandro? They might do that. Because Alejandro hasn't really been hitting as much. But you got the decision. Do you pitch to Vladdy or do you walk him and get Alejandro Kirk up there? Well, they're gonna let him hit. Let's see if that's a good decision for the Blue Jays. Ball. So the Blue Jays, double and an intentional walk. It actually worked out for the Mariners in the whole sense, but I don't think you intentionally walk someone twice in the same game. That was way low at outside 2-0. Ken Morrow and Jay Wells went to Bowling Green State in the late 70s. That's where Ken Morrow was from. I know he played on the American Ice team, but he came from Bowling Green. I know plenty of them came from University of Minnesota and Wisconsin on the American Ice team, but Bowling Green, yeah. Jay Wells, yeah, he's from Paris, Ontario, close to where I live. So, yeah. So 2-0 pitch to Flatty. Gossman wants to go back on the mound with the lead. That's a strike from Flint, Michigan. Kent Morrow from Flint, Michigan, eh? That's pretty cool. If you're from Michigan, you would probably have gone to Michigan or Michigan State for hockey, but I guess not, because I know those two are decent schools. All that. 2-1. Nope, didn't go. 3-1. He'll probably take the next pitch, by my guess, and then see if it's ball 4 or not. I mean, Alejandro will come up to the plate, and he hasn't really been hitting that well. Oh, he should have let that go. That was a ball. Brash knew that he could get Flatty to chase that, and he did. He did. Yikes. That would have been bases loaded for Kirk. Oh, boy. 1-1 tie. Blue Jays and the Mariners. Yep, he's doing that electronic earpiece from Raleigh to tell him what to go for. Well, that kind of ruins baseball in a little bit of sense, but we'll see what happens. Oh, he ends up striking out. Should have figured. He swung at ball 4. Well, the Jays do score. Thank goodness for that. But hopefully, well, the question on everyone's lips will be, is that going to be the end of it? Hopefully the Blue Jays didn't choke that one. Mark Wells, not Jay Wells. Yeah, Mark Wells. Don't know if Mark Wells was part of the American Ice team. I feel like he was. I'm probably wrong. Yeah, they're talking about the Dodgers and Brewers, about what game 4 brings. The Dodgers have a good money line, and Ohtani-san is pitching. Larry the Cable. Okay, so let's go to the roast. Larry the Cable Guy, March 2009, doing that one and all that. He was a roast master, but became the roastee, Larry the Cable Guy, and he was actually outed as not really being the cable guy from the South, because the guy who played Larry the Cable Guy, is from Nebraska, Daniel Whitney, and I think he said some stuff in a Nebraska accent, and that exposed him for not being a cable guy. Then Joe Rivers did her thing in 2009. That was a good one. It had, Carl Reiner saying shit on TV. Gilbert Godfrey making an appearance. Whitney Cummings. Tom Arnold made an appearance. Brad Garrett from Everybody's Larryman. Robin Quivers from the Howard Stern Show. Greg Giraldo, who was one of the best roasters of all time. And Melissa Rivers even came from the audience to roast her mom. Yeah. So Dennis Leary, Jeff Foxworthy, Pamela Anderson, they had some good Jeff Ross making her debut. William Shatner getting some guys like Zakay and all that. Talk about Bob Saget. Joan Rivers, yeah, there's some stuff and all that. She was 76 years old when she got roasted. And then 5 years later, she died because of a failed surgery. David Hasselhoff got his in August 2010. Now, I think that was the first one I really watched with intent. Jeff Ross did his job as roast. Seth MacFarlane was the roast master, but Jeff Ross, as a roaster, he wore David Hasselhoff's trademark leather jacket, but he was just in tighty whities the rest of the way, and basically saying, this is the first time a Jew has roasted a German and all that, but because Jeff Ross. But Hasselhoff is of German descent, but I kept thinking he was from Germany because he performed Berlin Wall, but no, he's from Maryland. His family's from Germany. Pamela Anderson came to roast David, saying that, there were co-stars on Baywatch, and Pamela says, oh, David, when they roasted me, I was relevant at least. Oh, Lisa Lampanelli roasted him. Hulk Hogan was there, too, in Good Guy Face, roasting David Hasselhoff and having to pause his set because he wanted to make a joke about Jeff Ross's hair looking like Pamela's nether regions and all that. And Hasselhoff said he could do that. Here's Ken Zone. Flails So Gossman's on the mound with a 1-1 score. Could have been worse. The Blue Jays might not have scored, but they did score. Yeah, it's the 1 for 14 in the ALCS. Chopper foul, just foul. Yeah, Hulk Hogan made some roasting saying that I can't tangle with Jeff Ross and his people because the last time I tangled with his people, my wife, that's Linda, got half my shit. So Jeff Ross did a joke about Hulk Hogan and his expense, saying that the first match Hulk Hogan wrestled, they counted Roman numerals and said I. That's kind of cute. Jerry Springer even came up to roast. Greg Giraldo, George Hamilton, Braun's faced and all. Gilbert Gottfried did his stuff. That was wide ball one. Yeah, Hasselhoff did it. And then we find out that Greg Giraldo passed away September 29, 2010. I think it was a drug overdose or something. But yeah, Giraldo died. Or was it a fall? I can't remember. But yeah, Greg Giraldo. That was just shocking how he died and all that. He was pretty good. Canzone trying to flail one, but that's going to be Clement's ball. Yeah, September 29th. I wonder what happened. His personal life. Yeah. After a comedy show, he got OxyContin, alcohol, and cocaine from a fan. Well, you could probably guess what could happen and all that. The event was actually to celebrate the reality of recovery from addiction and offer hope to those who have yet to find recovery. Unfortunately, Giraldo never showed up, and then he died. That's just so sad, because he was so big and all that on the Comedy Central scene, and then, taking those drugs. And then Donald Trump's roast, March 2011, back when Donald Trump was actually likable, and people actually cheered a chance for him to be president. He tried for 2012, he pulled back, and then he went for 2016 and won that election thanks to some last-minute election email hacking from probably some of his supporters, because I think Hillary Clinton would have won. And then Trump, don't really want to say too much about that guy. I mean, yeah, the Donald Trump thing was basically when he was likable and all that. Wendy Cummings did something. Anthony Jeselnik, it is creepy Patrick Bates vibe stuff. Larry King even was on the roast. And you know how much Larry King was old and decrepit. Lisa Lampanelli skewed Donald Trump, although she made one joke that Trump had occurred so many hotels, it was like an autistic boy playing Monopoly. A little bit awkward though too. 3-0. Not even close, Gossman. Jeez. This is Rebus. You can't walk this guy. Marlene Matlin, who was part of the Celebrity Apprentice with Donald Trump. She was there too, and she had an interpreter help her out, and she made some very crass jokes. Jeff Ross was there talking about Marlene Matlin and all that. Snoop Dogg made an appearance. Mike the Situation Sorrentino. P. Walker, the pitching coach, is on the mound. And Mike the Situation Sorrentino, basically his performance was panned and all that. There was a lot of roast and all that. And they did pay respect to Greg Giraldo. Charlie Sheen's came September 19th, 2011, which was actually shown hours before 2.5 Men. No, sorry. Well, they said it was an hour. Comedy Central did an hour after he came on. All of that. Yeah, so you got J-Rod coming to the plate. This will be shocking and all that because of the whole nervous energy, if you will, for the Blue Jays. They got to get key outs here and score some runs. I mean, they had the bases loaded and no outs and didn't get anything. Thankfully, Springer saved their butts. J-Rod to center. Varsho makes the catch and hung up long enough for him to make the catch. 2 down. Already done. That's not bad. And now you got yourself Big Dumper. And all that. Gossman, what's he calling for a new ball? Well, we'll see what Schneider comes up with. I know Big Dumper is coming to the plate. That's Raleigh. If Gossman can get Raleigh, this would be big. But I wonder how long Gossman will go after Raleigh and all that. Well, Schneider's going to keep him. Trying to keep them honest. Cal has doubled today. Ball, and you got to be careful because if the catcher lets the ball pass him, that's going to be a strike. I mean, that's going to be. Someone sending money. Yeah, my poker league starts next Thursday, which will not interfere with World Series baseball because World Series game one's the next day. 1-0 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike one. Yeah, hopefully, Gosman can get him out and get himself out of this mess and all that. Chopper foul, strike two. Gosman against Raleigh. This will be a big matchup. If Gosman can just get Cal Raleigh out, then we'll see what the Jays can do in the top of the sixth and all that. The drama heightens itself. 1-2 pitch. Fouls it off. Yeah, Blue Jays winning 3 games in the ALCS. 85 they did, but they lost that series in 7, thanks to losing at home in game 6 and 7. All that. Hopefully that doesn't. We don't repeat 85 or 15 when we botched that LCS. Giving Kansas City fits. Nope. He wanted him to swing. He ain't swinging. And then 89, we only got to 1 win. 91, we only won once. 92, we got the 3 wins. Well, we were up 3-1, lost game 5. Fortunately, game 6, instead of the choke of 85. 92, they got it done on home turf. In 93, we were up 3-2 in the LCS going back to Chicago and won game 6. So, yeah, the numbers are good. Raleigh decides to try to dump one. No, so fast. The catch by left field, and the Blue Jays get out of this mess and wonder if Gosman has finished his day. Jays are out hitting the Mariners 5-3. Score tied once. All right, so yeah, Charlie Sheen did his roast at 2011, because of the whole 2.5 men scenario and all that. TMC's Harvey Lemon was supposed to appear, but no. Denise Richards almost roasted Charlie Sheen, but she didn't think her daughter should see that. So anyway, Sheen's family members, Emilio Estevez, his brother, and Martin Sheen, his father from the West Wing, they couldn't attend. They actually did a montage of Sheen's film and TV work for it, but legal reasons they couldn't do 2.5 men and all that. Patrice O'Neill, this was his roast and all that, but he would die of diabetes November 2011. John Lovitz did it too. Charlie Sheen. Patrice O'Neill, Jeff Ross did some stuff. Charlie, if you're winning, there's something wrong with the fucking scoreboard. A Schumer did that too. William Shatner even roasted Charlie Sheen, saying, "Remember, Charlie, to book your next rehab stay at Priceline.com." Steve-O did some stuff, and then he actually made a great weight joke, but he decided he couldn't do it, so he had it cut out. But yeah, Steve-O wanted to run into Mike Tyson's famous right fist and all that. Mike Tyson appeared, and he did some poetic stuff and all that. And, of course, Jeff Ross parodied Mike Tyson, saying, "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend Mike Tyson your ears." And Kate Walsh even was there, too. Roseanne Barr, the roast, we'll get to that later because we got to get to the top of the 6th inning. Woo! Why you say woo? Oh, the pitcher woo. Brian Woo, that is. I guess he didn't pitch in the postseason because I don't think he's pitched in the ALCS, but he didn't pitch in the ALDS. So yeah, Brian Woo. I think he's from Korea. At least the fans celebrate him. Oh, he's American, but of Korean descent, probably. He was born in Oakland, California. Kirk will lace one to right field. I'll bounce. And this looks like a double. Oh, he's not a fast runner. Who? He would have beaten out just by an inch. So another double by Kirk. That's the 5th time in 6 innings the Blue Jays have a double on the board. Yeah, Brian Woo. And all that. Good stuff. Oh, his paternal grandparents or his father's parents were born in China. So he's of Chinese descent. So he's of Chinese descent. Well, Woo also is Korean too, not Japanese. I know that. But yeah, nice job by Kirk with the double. Kenzo didn't really take that. So let's see if Farshaw can do it this time. Yeah, I know runners in scoring position. They were batting .250 heading into this game. They're 1 for 6. Farshaw swings and misses on that pitch. Yeah, Dalton Farshaw. Well, 3 RBIs, but he only has 2 hits. Now it's time to be a hero with a runner on second. Oh, he's going to bunt, but foul. Unfortunately, that means that if he bunts foul, that's strike 3. So, yeah. Well, that's not a bad idea for Farshaw to try to do the bunt to get the runner moving to third. If he had a good thing. I know the swinging bunt sometimes works too because Carlos Guillen did that swinging bunt to get the Mariners past the White Sox in the LDS in 2000 pitch. He takes a cut and you foul it off. So, yeah, we're in the top of the 6th. Blue Jays 1-1. This game started at 6 Eastern Time, 3 Pacific. And you must know, it's like, well, why is this game in the 6th inning? And why is this game before 8 o'clock in the evening? Well, that's the way Major League Baseball said it to be. High ball 1. I was actually worried because, I know game 2 of the ALCS on Monday started at 5 Eastern Time. I thought they were going to put Game 5 start at 5 o'clock or 2 p.m. Pacific time. 1-2. Too high again. Yeah, Brian Woo. I'm surprised they haven't had him pitch. Unless he kind of was hurt and then they put him back on the roster. But, yeah. I'm like, well, I don't remember him in the postseason. Or at least pitching against the Blue Jays this time. Oh, he's trying to get him to nibble, but he ain't nibbling. 3-2. They'll have to find something else. Clement on deck. Okay. Blue Jays 1, Mariners 1. Tight game here in Seattle. 3-2 on the way. Oh, that's in the strike zone, and that is going to be a pop-up to short. Kind of an infield fly rule, but Arizarita makes the catch 1 down. Not a bad idea by by Farshaw. Now Clement comes in. Of course, I have the game deafened because I don't want YouTube and Major League Baseball to get ticked off at me. So that's why. It's almost 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock would be the time for me to play Bingo Blitz. But because, the game's on right now, I got to not do that because it does interfere with my streaming. So, the performance. So I got to keep everything good as gold. And here's Clement. And a foul. Trying to get a slapper. Clement 0 for 2. Yeah, the Blue Jays, if they lose this game, we know why. It's not Gossman's fault. It's the hitting's fault for not having the runners in scoring position score when they need to. Because we've had a double at least 5 times in the 6 innings. Did he go? No, he did not. So yeah, it's funny how the Blue Jays have 5 doubles in 6 innings and yet only have kind of 1 run from them, if you will. So, that's the way it goes. Clement races it the right, base hit. Kirk's not a fast runner. Oh, he's risked it. Oh my gosh, what a risk. Throw up the lines 2-1. Man, Alejandro Kirk's making me look like a fool. An April fool of that. I didn't think he would go on that pitch. That looked like a looping single, and then you put Barger on first and third. Yeah, Blue Jays take the lead. I actually am shocked. Oh man, RGL is having a thing on today too, right? I think he is. Yeah, RGL. So yeah, Yankees, Rangers. So he's doing game 3. But yeah, base hit for, wow, I'm actually shocked Kirk took the gamble. And Clement went to second base. So it is a single and an advancement to second on the throw. Oh, Fables, the third base coach, told them to go. And Kirk, well, if Kirk was like 5 feet shorter, he would have been tagged out by Raleigh. Barger, chopper to the right side. That's going to be good enough. That'll move the runner to the third. Baseball fundamentals. So you got a runner on third with 2 outs. And now let's see if IKF can do something and give the Jays a 2-run lead and give Gausman some run support. Now, the question on my mind is, will Gausman come out for the 6th? I think he will, and then they'll probably just say, well, if you screw up with this one batter, as long as it's not a home run, I think you got to yank him. Max Scherzer looking on with his hoodie on. Here's IKF. Kind of like him because he wears number 7 because 7 is my lucky number, but yeah. Kyle Falefa was basically picked up by the Blue Jays out the waivers, mostly due to the fact that Bichette got injured. And, it's weird how the Blue Jays have done so well without Bo Bichette. Because last year, Bichette got too injury prone, and basically the Blue Jays were crapola. The Blue Jays had the best win differential of 2025. They only won 74 last year. They won 94 this year, so they were a plus 20. That actually led the majors. Not to mention the most comeback wins in the major leagues. So, well, Farland is coming through, and he's on the bullpen mound. Hopefully, the Blue Jays can get some runs. Hopefully, IKF can get a base hit. He went for it, but he swings and misses strike 2. 2-2-2. Blue Jays trying to hang on here and take a 3-2 series lead back home with a chance to finish her off. Yeah, in 2015, the Blue Jays only won 2 games in the ALCS. In 2016, we only won 1. So, yeah, so the Blue Jays, this would be the 4th time they've won 3 games in LCS if they hang on here. 2-2. Chopper. Woo! He's out. But the Jays do take the lead. So, bad news, he's out to run on third. Good news is that there was a single and an advancement in the second, and Alejandro. There it is. Yeah, so the Texas Rangers will play like the New York Rangers and not score at home. Let's make a beautiful stat here. So, yeah, he does his tabletop game 3, Yankees, Rangers, 1999. And they did meet in 1999, Yankees and Rangers, not in the ALCS, but in the first round, because the Bo Sox met Cleveland in the ALDS in 99, and Pedro's Game 5 heroics out of the bullpen. 5 perfect innings against Cleveland ruined Cleveland's chances to get to the ALCS against the Yankees for the 2nd consecutive year. Well, I know you'll be thinking, well, wait, they made it to the ALCS in 97. They did, but they didn't face the Yankees. They faced Baltimore in one of the most low-scoring LCSs in history because, there was like a couple of 11 inning games that was like one was 2-1, one was 1-0 on a Tony Fernandez home run of all people. Tony Fernandez wasn't really a power threat and all that. And I know this. I'm a Blue Jays fan. You know, he's had 4 stints for the Blue Jays. He had 4 stints for the Blue Jays. He's dead. I forgot about that. All right. So, yeah. So I'll open 7 cards. I'll do 7 card stud and give you 7 cards for 5 straight games and all that. So, yeah, it's game 5 and then game 6 will be 7 cards from the Topps Heritage 2025. And then we'll get through it. Now, the question on my lips is, what if the Blue Jays make the World Series? Well, and streaming. Well, that's going to be a bit of a pickle because my buddy Bill's coming back from Florida next Thursday, and he'll be back in Canada for the first game of the World Series, whether the Blue Jays make it or not. But yeah, so hopefully the Blue Jays make it. And then comes the hard part. Like, will I be watching game 1 at off-site? It's a possibility, but the question on my mind is where you go for the Blue Jays, because with the Blue Jays doing so well, almost every bar and restaurant in Kitchener is going to be filled to capacity. Blue Jays up 2-1, runner 7 hits to the Mariners 3. I'm thinking about just hanging on and just talking sports and not talking Comedy Central roasts and all that, because I don't want to jinx the Blue Jays. I know it's kind of awkward, but you do what you do. Gosman's back on the mound against Polanco. If he can get Polanco out, this would be good. If he doesn't, then Farland will probably have to come in. Number 77 in your books, all that. Yeah. Obviously, relievers with a 7, for 70 to 79, it's kind of a taboo thing. Like it was for like the 20th century and all that, having 77 and all that as a reliever. Polanco's whiffed twice, but you know, you don't always get the same guy 3 times, all that. Polanco, he went fishing on that one, strike 1, all that. Yeah, it's tight. Tomorrow, Arkansas has to play number 4 Texas A&M in College Station. I'm expecting a loss, although ESPN will broadcast that game, I think. Which means I think TSN might broadcast that game over in Canada. Like, I think TSN will broadcast, because if it was on ABC, then I get ABC in my cable package as is. So I know the channel and all that. So I'll get the channel. But yeah, Arkansas has been on ABC twice, against Memphis and against Notre Dame. Memphis was a close one. We fumbled in the red zone to lose that game. And the Irish, that game was definitely not close. All that. Yeah. Check the 2025 Arkansas football thing for AW. Yeah. Oh no. What am I doing? What am I saying? It's actually going to be in Arkansas. I thought it was at College Station. I guess not. So yeah, it's at Razorback Stadium. Mark Jones and Roddy Jones are going to be your main guys. Mark Jones is he's Canadian? Mark Jones is a Canadian sportscaster. Wow. He's primarily play-by-play for Sacramento Kings basketball games, but Mark Jones is Canadian. I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know Mark Jones was Canadian. He worked for TSN. Okay. And he attended York University for basketball. I didn't know that. Yeah, he was an anchor and hosted the magazine show. He was actually the host of the NBA Today and does play-by-play with a lot of guys and all that. So, yeah. And Paul Jones, the radio play-by-play of the Raptors and all that. Polanco to short. Throw the first. Got him. 6-3 on the putout. So, Mark Jones. Yeah, I wonder what time that game will be between the Razorbacks and my the Razorbacks and the Aggies. Number 2, Miami's playing on ESPN right now, down 14-7 in the second quarter. Nebraska plays Minnesota on Fox. So, yeah, Fox decides to do college football tonight instead of doing game 5 of the ALCS. So I'm going to miss my nailer. Gosman's still out there. Nebraska, number 25 at Minnesota. The Golden Gophers, they're okay. You know, that their history Pre-1950, basically, they were one of the best teams around. But since then, not much. LSU plays Vanderbilt tomorrow. That's about 2 top 20 teams. And Vanderbilt in the top 20, you never would have guessed that. Even in the Jay Cutler era, they never were. Diego Pavia has been pretty much the savior of Vanderbilt and all that. Let's see here. Georgia, number 12, Georgia Tech heads to Duke. Well, Georgia Tech 6-0. They had a few key wins, a few moments they could go, whew, up the gut. Nope. Nice job by Jimenez. 2 down. Number 14, Oklahoma goes to South Carolina. Arkansas hosts at 3:30. So it's the 3:30 ESPN game against number 4, A&M. ABC will have Ole Miss versus Georgia. But to be fair, I mean, Ole Miss is number 5. Georgia's number 9. So to be fair, it's the proper matchup. Number 4, Texas A&M against Arkansas. But Arkansas beat a number 4 team at home last year, that being the Tennessee Vols. Number 1, Ohio State goes on CBS to Wisconsin. So, yeah, CBS does Big Ten games. But the thing is that they're not showing Fox. I think Fox, the game is between 2 teams not in the top 25. That's unusual for Fox. They usually have a top 25 team in, especially the Saturday afternoon lunchtime game. Unless they're not doing a 12 o'clock game. I think they are. Heinz Arena. Number 3, Indiana hosts Michigan State on Peacock, which is the NBC streaming thing, not NBC themselves. I think they're doing the Irish. Or appearing to do the Irish. Yeah, NBC is doing the Irish. That's at 7:30. Surprised they don't want to do a 3:30 game. Number 3, Indiana. I mean, how would you figure? Indiana, number 3 in football. Like, that's hard to do. When Curtis Rourke played for Indiana, I thought that's as high as Indiana can get because, Canadian quarterback. But no, Indiana is number 3 in football, which is hard to believe. I think in 1967, they were top 3 at one point, didn't they? 4 pitches, 4 balls. I think that's going to be the end of Gosman's time and all that. Unless he can convince John Schneider to yank him. Suarez is coming up. And Suarez did hit the home run for the only Seattle run. Yep. He's going to call Gosman out. 91 pitches and all that. But Suarez is a dangerous hitter. If it was not a dangerous hitter, then it would be called bullshit. But because Suarez is a good hitter, I think that was the move. Fox will have number 7 Texas Tech go to Arizona State in the battle of the Big 12. I still can't think Arizona State in the Big 12. Why are they dimming the lights? That's bad sportsmanship. Number 22, Memphis playing on ESPN2 against UAB. Number 8, Oregon, that big loss last week. They're in Rutgers. Number 18, Virginia hosts Wazoo. That's on CW. Number 21, Texas plays ESPN in Kentucky. I think ESPN's pretty much SEC Central, but yeah, Texas goes to Kentucky. Number 19, South Florida. They're still ranked. They play Florida Atlantic. USC Notre Dame, always a great game, and that's on NBC Saturday night at 7:30. Tennessee Bama is a good game too. Number 11 versus number 6. That's on ABC. Missouri, number 16 goes to Auburn. The Holy War is on Fox. Number 23, Utah against number 15, BYU. So, yeah. Utah versus BYU. So, yeah. The Holy War's coming. USC Notre Dame, their rivalry is playing out. Arkansas has a rivalry with Texas A&M, by the way. Yeah, I feel so bad because they don't say, well, upcoming games. Does Fox have a game at 12 o'clock? Yeah, they do. Washington versus Michigan. I'm actually shocked. Washington's 5-1, yet they're not ranked. Washington and Michigan actually is a good rivalry because they've played each other in a couple of Rose Bowls. 1978 and 1992 to come to mind. When Warren Moon for the 78 Huskies put his name on the map, but the NFL teams wanted to play him as a defensive back, not so fast. Canada came calling. He went to the CFL, helped Edmonton launch one of the greatest, if not the greatest, CFL dynasties of all time in the late 70s, early 80s. Then Houston came calling. The Oilers were impressed, got him and Hugh Campbell, who was the coach of the Eskimos, to come to Houston. And Warren Moon was a Hall of Fame proven quarterback. Michigan Well, in 1992, Michigan and Washington, but Michigan had Desmond Howard as the Heisman Trophy winner, but Washington came back and put the Heisman polls on him. Yeah, that's the game on Fox. Yeah, NBC's not doing a game at 3:30, are they? According to the source, looks like no. Nope. NBC's not doing a game at 3:30. Yeah, Washington, Michigan, 12 o'clock, and then Ohio State, Wisconsin. Yep. All right. Good to know. So 2-0 to Suarez. Farland's got to throw a strike sometime. He must. I said throw a strike. What part of that can you know? What? They called that a ball? How the heck do they call that a ball? That was right in the zone. Man, ABS can't come fast enough like the automatic ball system. Because that was a strike. That was totally a strike, top zone. Really? Strike to Crawford. Man, that's just got to be one of the stupidest, moments around. So 1-1, 2 outs. Well, Seattle has had some problems running score possession. Ball 2, Foof. Yeah, I just don't understand. Oh, nice play. Third base. The first. Nice job on the hop, and that's the third out. Fortunately for Toronto, they get out of the mess. Very good. Blue Jays up 2-1 after 6. So Gossman will get the win if need be. Obviously, you're up 2-1. All right, so let's try some more roasting stuff. Roseanne Barr did her roast August 2012 with Alan Barkin, who was like, who the fuck is that? Carrie Fisher did a good roast. Gilbert Gottfried was on. Seth Green, Anthony Jeselnik, Jeff Ross, Katie Seagal. I just can't see Katie Seagal without that red bouffant thing from Married with Children. Amy Schumer did something like that. She insulted Wayne Brady, saying he's from whose line is it anyway? But Carrie Fisher says mine, and then did the nose thing. Tom Arnold even made a surprise appearance to roast Roseanne, and basically it was all right. So yeah, this was actually a big one because Roseanne Barr actually sang. Well, after she roasted everyone back, she actually sang the last few lines of Star Spangled Banner perfectly to redeem herself for her infamous rendition of the American anthem, which was basically her trying to portray what redneck people or lower class people think of the American national anthem. This is a nationally televised baseball game. It wasn't nationally televised. the highlights were, but not the full game. Nevertheless, but yeah, he did all that. James Franco, his roast September 2013, and they talked about how Jewish the roast was and all that. My favorite joke was when Sarah Silverman said that Jonah Hill. No, sorry. Sarah Silverman said about Seth Rogen, the roastmaster says Seth Rogen rolled a gigantic fatty on stage. Well, you think it's reefer, but rolled a gigantic fatty on stage because that's how we needed to get Jonah Hill. Rolled a gigantic fatty. That's how we were supposed to get Jonah Hill on stage. I kind of giggled at that because Jonah Hill added some weight and all that. Everyone laughed at that too. I like that one. Justin Bieber did a roast. They did a roast to Justin Bieber March 2015. You know, Biebs being the youngest roastee at 21 years old. He was a super douchebag and all that. Everyone talks about how douchey he was and how much he tries to get into the black culture. Martha Stewart even was a roaster on this one. Shaq even roasted. Ron Burgundy did so. Chris D'Elia, Hannibal Buress, Pete Davidson, before he was known for dating Kim Kardashian and being harassed by Kanye, who just couldn't let the breakup go and all that. I mean, I get it with Kanye because he had 2 kids with Kim, but basically, all that. Yeah, so Ellen actually said that she was asked to roast, but said she couldn't. Didn't want to be mean to Bieber and all that. Paul Walker, the jokes referencing Paul Walker from Fast and Furious were cut out. Jimenez, it's going to be a 4-3. So yeah, Bieber did his job, and then Rob Lowe, September 2016, because of his whole thing and all that. It was actually simulcast on Spike and TV Land. Why? Why TV Land? Anyway, Bo Derek was supposed to be there, but Jewel came in. Jewel did pretty well for herself, singing her song "You Weren't Meant for Me" like a parody. And Coulter was on there too. You know how controversial she is, and she basically didn't know what a roast was and all that. And she was harshly targeted and all that. And it was, Jimmy Carr was there, the legend of Jimmy Carr in England and all that, closing the big fat quiz, and 8 out of 10 cats does countdown. Basically told Ann Coulter to do something stupid and was even likened to Hitler. Eek. Coulter thought that her set was good, but basically the crowd booed it and all that. And basically she had a plug for a book, In Trump We Trust. Of course, ow, what the hell happened to Springer? Oh, gosh. That's his knee. That's not good. That's not good. That is definitely not good. Good thing it's a DH, and he's not playing in the outfield. But, no freaking way. Well, that's a hit by pitch. Holy crap. And that hurts. Loper-Fiedel is actually in. So, yeah, they had him instead after Santander. Now what do you do if you're the Blue Jays? Who do you call up in the roster? I mean, Springer hurt. Yikes. Who can be DH? I mean, you'll have David Schneider, I guess. Yeah, David Schneider is on the bench for all that. But, yeah. Surprised that David Schneider hasn't really appeared in this series. Watch what happened. Yeah. Oh, ow. That looked like it was off the kneecap. That's not good. That's not good. That's not good. Oh, ow. Yikes. That hurts. That definitely was not on purpose. So, yeah. Boy, right off the knee, too. He's definitely not going to be able to play. He'll have to be replaced. Now, the good thing for Springer is that he's the DH, so he doesn't have to. So they don't really need a fielder to replace him. They just need a hitter. And I think David Schneider should be coming in for him. But, man, this would be killer for Game 6 and the rest of the playoffs because that could ruin the Blue Jays. Honestly, I can't really think of a Blue Jays playoff injury other than Joe Carter in 1991 that really hurt the team within the playoffs and all that. Obviously, Springer's going to probably not be able to run. And with a 2-1 game, you better get a good runner at first base. Yeah, that definitely was not on purpose. But yeah, seemed like the kneecap. It was like, frig. It's like, there goes our chances. Well, Springer has done decently, but he's walking gingerly the first. They're going to have to take a pinch hitter, a pinch runner, and all that. There's no freaking way that he's going to be able to run past first base. Well, he's testing that knee. I don't know. Honestly, I would probably just get a pinch runner and then, call it a day and then just heal up for game 6 if you have to. Yeah. Yeah, there's no way. I thought so. That's a smart thing to do for the Blue Jays is that, game 6. Here comes Loberfito. He was left off the rosters for both the ALDS and ALCS. He's in because Santander was taken off the roster and they could add one person. And Loberfito. Where's David Schneider? David Schneider can't really run. Maybe they'll put Schneider in at DH or keep Joey Lopes and Loberfito. So, yeah, that's tough. But, Springer will have to... Hello again. Hello, Larry. So, hello there. Roast Gamer from Sarnia. From Kitchener. He's from Sarnia, more southwest than we are and close to Port Huron, Michigan. So, Loberfito is going to pinch run. You missed it, Roast Gamer. If you haven't been watching, Blue Jays did have the bases loaded down 1-0 in the 4th, but couldn't get anything going with no outs. Yeah, they had bases loaded, no outs, but they couldn't score. 5th inning, they scored on a single by Clement, and he got to second base. Right? No, that was the second run. But anyway, Blue Jays are up 2-1. You just missed George Springer get a ball off the knee from Brian Lucas. They have no play at second. They'll get the out. Yeah, went out and got some groceries and a lot of checking. Yeah, no outs but bases loaded and could not score. Yeah, but the Jays are up 2-1, so yeah, I'll give you the 4-1-1, if you will, on this game. Yeah, the Jays bases loaded in the 4th, no outs. There was a strikeout, and then there was a tapper. Yeah, there was a tapper in front of home plate. Raleigh tagged home and then threw the first for the double play. So, yeah. Summary. Yeah, the summary here. Okay, I'll tell you. Top of the 4th, Lucas doubled. Then they intentionally walked Vladdy to get to Kirk, who walked unintentionally. Bases loaded. Dalton Varsho struck out, and then Clement ground into a double play. The catcher to first base. It was 1-0, and then the Blue Jays scored thanks to an RBI double by Springer to score Barger. Kirk will fell it. And then in the top of the 6th, after the Mariners went with Wu instead, Clement singled to score Alejandro to make it 2-1. And that's where we are now. So did you get supper? Yeah. I've been eating pizza bites all week. Yeah, so I've been eating pizza bites throughout the stream. Chopper, they're going to get the out. Kirk's not a good runner. Oh, they almost threw it away. They almost threw it away. Lucky Ducks, Seattle is. Well, time to stand up and stretch. It is the 7th inning stretch and all that. Blue Jays up 2-1. Blue Jays, well, Gosman lasted almost 6 innings, but he was hitting a high pitch count of 90 pitches. So they took him out for Farland, and he didn't do any damage, so thank goodness for that. So yeah. Yeah, I was talking about the Comedy Central roasts and all that. Well, I did the Dean Martin talk, and then who got roasted, and then Comedy Central who has been roasted. Yeah. So yeah, Bruce Willis got roasted in 2018. Alec Baldwin got roasted in 2019. Funny thing is, his daughter Ireland spoke of the day as referencing the voicemail he left her in 2007. All that. So anyway, yeah, a lot of recurring roasters. Jeff Ross has been in 15 roasts. He missed the first 2 roasts, but has hit the last 15. Greg Giraldo had 8 as a roaster. And all that. And the venues. New York City hosted 3 of the roasts. Darren Leary, Jeff Foxworthy, and Donald Trump. Those were the only ones outside of California. There were some canceled roasts too. Willie Nelson would have had a roast, but it failed in 2008. Kid Rock wanted a roast in 2011, but it was replaced by Charlie Sheen. But it was because there was a condition that he wanted it in Detroit. Africa did some roasting. Latin America, Holland, New Zealand, and Spain. So yeah, lots of roasting and all that stuff. The other teams will be wrecked by the Dodgers. Well, that's hard to say. Maybe, maybe not. It depends on what Toronto can do. Like, the Dodgers, well, the Blue Jays did go to LA and lose 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. So, no, they did win the last game of the 3-game set. And as of right now, if everything goes according to plan, Toronto, LA in the World Series, that win puts Toronto ahead of LA and Toronto will have home field advantage for the World Series. If Seattle wins, Seattle wins no matter what happens. As long as the Dodgers win 1 of the next 4 games, then Seattle has to head to LA for game 1 of the World Series. Either outcome, Fox is going to have some terrible ratings and all that. It's kind of a ratings nightmare for Fox. The Dodgers, who are basically a team that's too good, but then you got yourself, if the Mariners win this series, then you have a West Coast World Series, and that kind of ticks off the East Coast fans. Or you have a Toronto-LA series, which would be good for Canada with the Canadian ratings, but but I think, from what I'm guessing, Sportsnet will do their own interpretation of the World Series. Like, they'll have their own crew for the World Series. Fox will do the games too. Canzone to left. Oh my God. Oh, was that foul? Just foul. Oh, I thought Canzone had just gone deep. Did he? Oh my gosh, is that fair? That is a terrible camera angle and all that. Oh, they're gonna take a look to see if Canzone's was fair. Down the left field line. Oh, did it hit the foul pole? If it hits the foul pole, that's a home run to tie the game. Wow. Ooh. Oh, so close. Too close to call. I think that's, down the left field line. I don't know. I think it's too close to call. Yeah, I don't know. From those angles, it has to be conclusive. So yeah, they're going to do the video review, obviously. It's too close to call. Like, it did bounce a little bit, but did it scrape the foul pole? Nope, it didn't look that way. Down the left field line. Nope, that's foul. Nope, that was foul. Just foul by 2 or by 2 feet. That was foul by this much. I'll be honest with you. So close down the left field line, but that's foul. My gosh. Yeah, it hit the wall behind the foul pole, but it didn't hit the foul pole. So that means that's a foul. But, that's just a strike. How there are not cameras built on the foul poles. I thought there were cameras on the foul poles, but I think they're just scared of home runs hitting up those cameras and putting them out of operation, I think. I don't think he went. Oh, he did go. Canzone, strike 3. Ooh, he did go. Well, Seattle's lost their challenge, so that's not good. I don't know if he did go. In all honesty, did he go? Yep, that crossed the plate, crossed the plane. That's a strike. He's out. I don't think Canzona. That was very close. Yeah, I think the cameras on the foul poles, like, where are you going to put them on the foul poles? Like, at what angle and where do you perch them? Ball or Rivas. Yeah, that's actually a thing. Is like, where are you going to put the cameras on the foul poles and all that? A lot of people probably think about the whole left field Carlton Fisk thing, the camera in left field, but that was in the Green Monster. And that reaction shot actually was a fluke because Lou Gerard, the NBC cameraman in the Green Monster, actually didn't move his camera because he was supposed to follow the flight of the ball, but Lou Gerard couldn't because there was a rat nearby and he had to freeze and not get the attention of the rat. Strike 2 on that one. And that was the reaction shot. And that was inexplicably one of the best TV moments around, is just thanks to a rat in the left field stands, in the left field Green Monster, before they remodeled everything, of course. Because, yeah, that was one of the best things. The reaction shot was totally inadvertent, but it worked. Anyway, 2-2 pitch. Reverse foul, man, by 2 feet. I mean, I don't blame the Mariner fans thinking it was a home run. It was too close to call, but yeah, I was just left at it. All that, yeah, the Seattle banners and all that. They'll probably raise another banner. They'll obviously put another banner up to start the 2026 season, because obviously that banner is going to say AL West Champions 2025. I mean, they did win the division. That's how they got the 2 seed in the bye to the LDS. 3-2. Fouls it off. That was a good foul off pitch by Rivas, because that would have been strike 3 at 2 outs. Yeah, the Dodgers game starts right now, so you got that going. Blue Jays Mariners. I'm kind of nervous, like, talking about like baseball scores and all that, like hockey scores. I know. 3-2 pitch. Rivas popped it up. Who's got it? Oh, he's pointing. Yep. Smart move by Farshall to point to Lucas, who makes the catch in left field, 2 down. So, yeah. J-Rod, Julio Rodriguez, is at the plate. He's a pretty good hitter. So, yeah. Blue Jays are getting nervous. 2-1. This would be good. Like, you're not going to talk about the bases loaded, no outs, blunder in the 4th inning if the Jays win, because why would you? I was always taught, never bitch about anything if your team wins. J-Rod swinging to the miss, strike 1, because, it makes you look like a whiner. But yeah, if the Blue Jays can win this one, then that whole bases loaded, no outs, blunder in the 4th inning will be always forgiven. J-Rod's a good hitter. Swinging away, strike 2. That's a big strike on that one. So, yeah. Blue Jays trying everything and anything. Mariners have Spire, who was up in the 4th inning throwing in the pen, but didn't come in. Yeah, those Mariners fans put the Trident M. That's not a bad look on a baseball cap. I'll be honest with you. Pitch on the way. Wide and low. Ball 1. Well, wide enough. That's ball 1. So, yeah, 1-2. Blue Jays up 2-1 in this game. Bottom of the 7th. 2 outs and a 1-2 to Julio. Fouls it. Boy, it's a foul. So, yeah. Yeah. Blue Jays would love to go back to Toronto up 3-2 and with 2 chances to win the pennant when, you don't want 2 chances. You want 1. And he got fit. And he went fishing and can't cut bait. That's a big strikeout. And the Blue Jays are still up 2-1 now through 7. This is unbelievable. Other than how's your day, Cutter Historical? Yeah, giant truck game player. So yeah, so Texas looks like they're going to win the RGL thing and force at least a game 5. I think that's best of 7, right? Yeah. So yeah, I'll check the NHL right now because they're going to the 8th. All right, so there are a couple of games going on right now. Detroit scored a goal against Tampa, and that was a goal by Axel Sandin Palinka. What a name, but yeah, Detroit's up 1-0. Washington up 1-0 on Minnesota. Vancouver, Chicago just started on Sportsnet 1. And then San Jose, Utah coming up a little bit later. Yeah, Washington, their goal was scored by Dylan Strome. Oh, Minnesota just scored. Minnesota just scored like a few seconds ago. Marcus Johansson scored after Dylan Strome put one on the net. And we are tied at 1 skis. It's a nervous wreck. You got to be nervous. Detroit playing well after they were read the right act by the coach after game 1. Yeah, and Cam Talbot coming out of freaking nowhere to unseat John Gibson, who is a former Kitchener Ranger goalie, by the way. If you know me, World's Worst Gamer, especially when I do Stone Cold Hockey with my PC stuff, and if a Kitchener Ranger scores a goal or an assist or even is a goalie in the game, or, when I do the name readouts and all that, I tend to say Kitchener every time he's a Kitchener Ranger. And I sometimes have to back up my findings and all that. But yeah, that Mariners fan looks sad. But it is 2-1. I mean, they're not really out of it yet, obviously. I mean, if they were freaking out of it, then, they're out of it. But they ain't out of it. Blue Jays are up 2-1. 10 hits combined. So, yeah, the Blue Jays are doing quite well against Seattle. I can't remember if this is the best pitching performance by Blue Jays team with giving up 3 hits. I think they've given up. I don't think they've really had a 1 or 2 hitter in the playoffs. I think they did, though. I don't remember. Dave Spire is on the bump for Seattle here in the 8th. Way away to Farshow, who stood out for 3, who was up at the plate with the bases loaded and no outs and struck out in the 4th. And that led to the double play. Pitch on the way. Doesn't go for it. Ball 2. That's right. 0 for 3. A pop out, a strikeout, a fly out. Well, if it's a ground out, it's the grand slam of outs. A pop out, a strikeout, a fly out, and a ground out. 4 different ways of being whiffed. All that. And strike. Well, yeah. Detroit playing well after the riot act. Yeah, the Red Wings then decided to win the home and home with the Leafs and all that, especially Mason Appleton in the final minute on Monday. Way away, ball 3. Like, I have nothing really against Detroit Red Wings. Like, as a Leaf fan, I don't really hate them as much. I mean, they are in the same division, but, I don't hate them as much now as I did in the 90s. Swinging of a strike, too. That was going to be a strike anyhow. Yeah, like Toronto, Detroit, best Leafs Red Wings series of all time, 1993. It has to be 93. The Wings were up 2-0 on home ice. The Leafs had to win both games 3 and 4 on home ice. It was 2-2. And then game 5, Mike Foligno's goal, and then did the Foligno leap. Red Wings pounded the Leafs in game 6. Farshall decides to take that pitch and pop it up. And I think that would have been a strike anyhow. Yeah. So, and then, of course, Nikolai Borshevsky's goal after Rouse shot the puck. Yeah, in a way, I hope the Oilers do lose this game is they pulled their starting pitcher too soon. I tend to agree. Like, I looked at the pitch count, and I'm like, I think Miller could have went more innings. Yeah. Yeah, I think Bryce Miller would have went more innings. Clement, nice pitch to left field. This is trouble. Back. The wind knocked it down. If it was, if that dome was open, that was a home run to make it 3-1. So close. I thought Clement had gone deep. I was like, oh my gosh, damn it. By a few feet. I thought, okay, it's gone. Oh, nope, it died. It had to have died. It had to have died down because that was right there. It would have hit the yellow line. I think that's right. If it hits the yellow line and it goes back in play, that means it's in play. It's not a home run. It has to be above the yellow line. There's Turkey in the straw coming to pinch hit for the Blue Jays, former Cleveland Indians. So, yeah, Turkey in the straw, as I call him. 2 for 8 in the postseason with an RBI, 3 runs across the plate. I think he's going to come into play in the outfield. Number 7, I think he's going to be Straw, floated to center field. This looks catchable. It is catchable. Straw tried everything in his power, but he couldn't do it. So the Jays go down 1-2-3 a little too quickly. So now Farland's out of the game. They got to go with another arm. Raleigh, Polanco, Naylor coming up for the Mariners in the bottom of the 8th. Blue Jays up 2-1. It's a tight game. Don't forget that I will be pulling some cards from this set. World's Worst Gamer. I don't think you've seen this. That I actually picked this up on Wednesday. More Topps Heritage 2025 version, and I will be pulling some cards out. There is one little caveat though. They're not coming in like little packs of cards. They come in 35 cards like this. They come in like this. So I will pull 7 cards at random out of the pack. I think I'll have to do it like one way or another. But yeah, I'll be pulling 7 cards out. Do a 7-card pull 5 times. So yeah, I got to do that 5 times. So for game 5, game 6, and then, we'll see if there is a game 7, I'm going to pull, and then I got to do pulls for games 1 and 2. Now the question on my mind is that, let's hope the Blue Jays win, because I don't want to having massive anxiety before game 6 Sunday night and all that. I know I got to do my routine on Sunday. Go clean up. Go get work groceries after the early games of football. Fret about my pick'em for the late afternoon games, and then at 8:00, watch the thing and all that. Protas. So yeah, game 6 Sunday night, because tomorrow is a travel day. If the Dodgers beat the Brewers, then there's no baseball tomorrow anyway. Dodgers lose, then we have a game 5, because game 5 of the NLCS will be at 8:00 tomorrow if the Dodgers lose to the Brewers. With Ohtani still on the mound, I wouldn't put it past Milwaukee to win a game, but we'll see. Yeah. So the Dodgers... So now it's up to Brandon Little to come out of the pen for the Blue Jays, if he can just get it to Hoffman, Cal Raleigh. I don't know. World's Worst Gamer. All that. Miles Straw in left field. Nathan Lucas now playing right. So that is the end of the day for Barger. Yeah, so He came in. So Cal Raleigh is coming to the plate. So anyway, yeah, World's Most Never says Cal Raleigh. So I wonder if he knows something I don't know. Well, that's a ball out of the zone. So yeah. Ohtani struck out the side in the top of the first. So that's big for the Dodgers. Let's see what they can do at the bottom. Raleigh, ball one. I thought, yeah, ball two. Oh, yeah, the Sportsnet ticker is not doing anything. Sir Anthony is pitching in the bullpen. Well, they have to throw the three batters. Oh, no way, no way, no way. Yes way, it's gone. Cal Raleigh has tied the game again. This guy is basically Toronto's bane. Cal Raleigh just hit one out of the park. Now, when you said Cal Raleigh, did you have inside information if it was a home run or not? Because then you're ahead of me. Why do you pitch to him? Well, there was no one on base. So you don't intentionally walk someone with the first batter of the inning. So yeah, Cal Raleigh just went deep. Yeah, I was wondering, did you know he hit a home run? Because then you're way ahead of me on this thing. Yeah, Little threw 3 pitches. All that. So yeah, Cal Raleigh just went deep to left field, just in there. Why did he pitch to him? Yeah, like I said, I think because it was the first batter of the inning. I mean, you don't intentionally walk the first batter of the inning. No matter who it is. It's bad manners. Oh, the temperature is supposed to get warmer tomorrow. Yep, so yeah. Could have put him on with 2 outs. Yeah, seize the moment. Now, this looks bad. This looks really bad. Now you got Jorge Polanco at the plate. So obviously that means that there's no W beside Kevin Gossman's name, but there's no L either. And of course, the rule is you have to pitch to 3 batters. So that changes the Blue Jays and all that. Take your chance with others, but we'll see. And all that. Yeah, I guess maybe Toronto was too polite to him. I don't know. That's kind of our downfall, a lot of people said, especially in 85 against George Brett, that the Blue Jays were too polite and pitched to him. And you know how everyone perceives Canadians as being polite, a little too polite. But yeah. Man. Polanco, un falletto, about un prise. 2 balls, 1 strike. Can't believe it. I thought for sure. Like when you said Cal Raleigh, I'm like, how far ahead of you are you? Because I'm like, oh, when he said Cal Raleigh, I'm like, you said that he hit a home run, and I'm like, why would you say it in front the first like that? You had to have info. Yeah, George Brett. I think you had inserted information. Anyway, that's a strike to Polanco, 2-2. Well, the Jays just have to come back and score. We still have a chance in the 9th to score something. Yeah, excited. And he came through. Of course you would. Of course you would go against the Blue Jay green, but whatever. It is what it is. I mean, you're a Yankee fan. The truth of the matter is Seattle's more patient. I think their hitters are much more patient than the Yankee hitters. The Yankees are free swingers more so than the Mariners, in a sense. Pitch. He didn't go. Did he go? No, he didn't go. Oh, boy. So now runner on first. Little has to pitch to Naylor, obviously, because the new rule, you have to throw the 3 batters within the inning. Or 3, I think it's 3 total, even if it's like 1 batter, 1 inning, and then you got to go 2. Yeah, believe. Well, I believe that the Blue Jays better do something in the 9th, because if they don't, this is bad. Boy, oh boy. Here you go. No, sir. Oh, one. So, yeah, 2 balls. It's 2-2 now in the eighth. This is the tightest that a game has been in the eighth inning of the 5. Because game 1, sure, was tight 3-1, but the Blue Jays just couldn't get hits worth crapola, nailer fouls. Game 2 was a blowout. Game 3 was a Blue Jays blowout. And game 4 was a Blue Jays blowout, in a sense. Now we got 8th inning magic. Brenda was too little for the moment. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Yep. Bill's going to be probably dinging me saying, oh, we had it in our hands. That's right. So I think that they'll take Little out after his third batter. Did you like that pun? Yes. It was good, though. I'll say that much. Man, this is pathetic. Man. I mean, this could decide game 5 and maybe turn the tide in the series. I mean, yeah, Cal freaking Raleigh and all that. But I mean, you never know what he could have done. He might not have hit a home run, but he did. Basically, Cal Raleigh is the main reason why Seattle's in this position in the first place. If it wasn't for him, I think the Blue Jays would have been in a good position. Yeah, the Dodgers right now are playing the Brewers in game 4. If the Dodgers win, it's over. If the Brewers win, we have a game 5 tomorrow night. There's no Blue Jays Mariners tomorrow because that's a travel day. So anyway, strike 2. So, yeah, and of course, I got to focus on watching the NHL, the Leafs taking on the Kraken. It's funny how Seattle and Toronto, the NHL teams meet tomorrow, and the baseball teams meet on Sunday, both in Toronto, of course. 3-2. Didn't go. Ball 4. Well, that's not good. You got runner on second, no outs. Obviously, you're going to take Little out because now you can after the third batter. That's just like, what the heck? Oh, man. Oh, boy, oh, boy. RJL is basically a blowout. Oh. Otani-san hit a leadoff home run to make it 1-0, 446 feet, as someone just said. And Texas is going to win the RGL thing, so I'm not going to look at that. Because that game is pretty much over. 10-3 Rangers. So, yeah. New York Rangers. So, yeah. Another check on the NHL scoreboard. And it is Detroit 1, Tampa 0, Washington up 2-1 on Minnesota. Vancouver, Chicago have yet to put up anything. So, yeah. Kopitar out week to week in the status report. 2025 Global Series Sweden weekend schedule. Are they playing now? November 14th to 16th. Okay, they're not doing anything. So let's see. Tomorrow is got a lot of games. Tomorrow, Florida will go to Buffalo on Sportsnet at 1 o'clock. The Sabres, trying to get rid of that damn playoff drought. They haven't been to the playoffs since 2011. That's a long time. Or is it 2012? I think it's 2012. Anyway, Islanders Ottawa coming up at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Waugh comes to Ottawa, where the Islanders. Edmonton, New Jersey on Sportsnet. The Devils looking pretty good. Seattle, Toronto on Sportsnet. City TV, Sportsnet East will have Rangers versus the Habs. The Habs are looking good, 4-1 right now. Minnesota, Philly, Tampa at Columbus for Cleveland baseball fans for Tampa. Dallas at St. Louis at 7 Eastern. They're putting the game at 7 Eastern in St. Louis. They're in the Central Time Zone. Nashville, Winnipeg at 7 o'clock. Well, I know they're Central, but they usually play Saturday night games at 7 o'clock. Boston goes to Colorado, who are undefeated. They haven't lost a game yet. Yeah, Boston at Colorado at 9 o'clock. Carolina, the only team that's perfect, a perfect mark. They're 4-0. They go to LA. 10 o'clock, Calgary goes to Vegas, who are undefeated. Pittsburgh goes to San Jose. Those are the games for Saturday and Sunday, there are 4 games. Vancouver heads to Washington. Edmonton heads to Detroit. So World's Worst Gamer will probably be watching that one, obviously, because Connor McDavid comes to town on Sunday. Anaheim, Chicago, and Boston, Utah. So, yeah, I don't know that. Well, the batter coming up, sack. Arizarena, I don't know if he will sack. And all that. Well, seeing how Sir Anthony is throwing bad pitches, I don't think all that. Went out for my Devils. Oh, I thought you were a Red Wings guy. You're basically saying all this Detroit Red Wings thing. But yeah. Okay. Swing and a miss, 98 on the gun, 2-1. Blue Jays had the 2-1 lead, and then Cal Raleigh with a leadoff tater tot in the 8th inning. People are saying they should have intentionally walked him. I don't know if it's proper to intentionally walk the first batter of an inning. And he hit Arena. So basically, the go-ahead runs 90 feet away and all that. So, yeah. Well, that's the ball. Suarez comes to the plate. He's a dangerous hitter. If it was like Canzone, I wouldn't be too worried. But yeah. Yeah, that plunked him. That was not intentional, obviously. He was trying to throw away to try to get Arena to swing and miss. We're choking it away. Well, that's a ball. I mean, they still have the top of the ninth and all that. So the Blue Jays still have something. They just have to get the out at home somehow. So yeah, basically the out at home is basically what you have to do here. Suarez fouls it off, strike 2, trying to get probably like a looping hit past the first baseman or something, like a pole hit, if you will. So Toronto, 2-2. Brandon Little can only stand and wait and shake his head. He's the guy who gave up the home run to Raleigh. Ball 2. They'll have to throw it in the zone, I think. And all that. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Popped up. Foul. Good swing, but that was foul. Yeah, Sir Anthony, this is his second batter and all that, if you want to know. I forgot. Seattle's closer. He's pretty good. So, yeah. He'll probably come in for the 9th. Suarez to right field. Uh-oh. Oh, you kidding me? Well, I'll just turn the TV on in about an hour and watch the Dodgers Brewers. So we're gonna just unpack some cards because there's no freaking way the Jays are gonna score 4 in the ninth. So I'm just gonna start unpacking cards. All that. Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna cut this open and all that. Let's see some cool cards. Yeah, I'm gonna open 7. If there's 35 cards, I'll open 7. The question on my lips, in personal sense, is if the Jays do lose Game 6, do I just unpack the rest of the cards throughout the game, or do I just leave them? All right. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll give you 7. Okay, so I'm going to randomly do it like cards. I'm just going to shuffle the cards and all that. And okay, so now I'm going to add 7 because the series will go 7. No, because there's 35 cards. The 5 by 7 is 5 unboxing. It's 5 unpacking cards. No, 7 because I'm like, well, all that. All right, so I need one of my viewers to yell stop and all that. So I'm gonna randomly pick the cards, just shuffling my cards, and I second that. Oops, someone says stop. Okay. All right, so we got 7 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So the rest will be unpacked sometime. So I will probably put I will probably put a poll, like, you know how you guys, every YouTube channel will have like posts and all that on their channel. So I will put a post saying that in the event that the Blue Jays lose Game 6, should I give you all 28 cards? Actually, no. If the Jays are losing badly throughout Game 6, I'll unpack cards. But if the Jays are close but lose Game 6, because the problem is I start work at 8 a.m. on Monday and the game is Sunday at 8 o'clock, I might have to poll it. Or I'll probably just do another stream. I'll probably just do an unpacking stream. But okay, here are the 7 cards. First card is this one, and that is of Bradley Blaylock of the Colorado Rockies, who were in the running. In April and May, the Rockies were in the running to break the record for most losses in a year by an NL team / an MLB team. So this is the Bradley Blaylock. All that, well, going back to 1976 it's a rookie card, I believe. RC, yep. Bradley Blaylock of the Rockies. So that's 1. Number 2 is this one of Hunter Brown of the Houston Astros. Hunter Brown. So, yeah, I kind of like the heritage stuff, doing it like that. But, yeah, Hunter Brown of the Astros, this is what he's done. Pretty decent pitcher and all that. First pitcher with a sub-.3 ERA and a 5-star span in 38 years. Wow, that's pretty good. I would think he threw a no-hitter, but I don't think he did. Third card is, I got to make sure I do this right. Third card is Donovan Solano of the San Diego Padres, third base. Solano, former Marlin and Yankee. Oh, he only spent half a year with the Yankees. Donovan Solano. Yeah, that's right. He was a key Marlin player and all that. But yeah, Donovan Solano for the Padres. He's one of the toughest outs. Not really a home run type of person. Next is Marcell Ozuna, great player for the Braves. He's a former Marlins icon too. But yeah, Marcell Ozuna. That's his card. So yeah, started out life with the Marlins and then went to the Cardinals for years, and now he's a Braves star player and all that. Yeah, a great hitter for the Braves, Marcell Ozuna. Next up is card number 5 is of Jake Rogers of the Tigers. He played he was their main catcher. I think, yeah, he's his own catcher and all that. Yeah, he's the primary catcher for the Tigers. So, yeah. All right, 2 games. Yeah, pretty good and all that. Jake Rogers. And then next, card number 6 is of Aaron Nola of the Phillies. Pretty good pitcher and all that. So, anyway, yeah, he's like a perennial 13-game winner and all that. But, yeah, Aaron Nola is a pretty good strikeout pitcher. And 7th and final will be this one. C.J. Abrams of the Washington Nationals. So C.J. gets his moment in the sun. Getting his card pulled live. The shortstop from the Nationals. You know, a 2020 season and all that. Yeah, Aaron Nola. You know him. Oh, ha, 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 ha. Very funny. Rubbish. All right, so that's the 7 cards. The other 28 will be unpacked at any point. So yeah, game 6 stream Sunday at 8. That's for sure. No stream tomorrow because, you know, that's just hockey and I don't want to stream during hockey. Yeah, so that just sucked. The wind has just been hit from Toronto sales every freaking where. Blue Jays now have to win 6 and 7 at home. And, you know, it actually could happen. I mean, I'll be upfront with you. The 86 Mets, they lost games 1 and 2 of the World Series on home turf and then won game 5. No, and then they went home after Boston won game 5. So that series was 3-2, and then they won 6 and 7. Are we going to see Toronto on home turf win game 6 and 7? We'll see about that and all that. So, yeah, so don't forget that game is at 8 o'clock Eastern time, 5 Pacific. The stream, I will make sure that my Facebook audience knows and then everyone on YouTube knows about my upcoming stream and all that. I will, of course, make the arrangements and all that. So I'd like to thank World's First Gamer. I'd like to thank Cleve Baseball Fan and all the lurkers out there who won't show their faces, but whatever. So anyway, this is Jeff Cutter, Historical Diamond. Videos will be coming out. You know, I've got I got ASG Golf and OOTP Baseball coming out today. I've got OOTP tomorrow and ASG Golf and 2nd and 10 football for college football. I got to do roster work for that soon. And, you know, that's it. Well, not a good day to be a Blue Jay, I guess. So anyway, thanks for watching and thanks for hanging out with me for 3 hours. I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.